It is Football Friday. Welcome in to the Postgame show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. This is that's our second Friday of November 2024. Last Friday was the first, right? Yeah.
That's right. It was the first. Last Friday was the first day of November.
That's right. So we're still cruising right along here. Welcome in. Lots to get to on today's program. Our good friend Langston Moore, the former Gamecock, will join us in just a few minutes' time. Coming up in the second hour of the program, Andrew Allegretta, the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores, will be with us from Nashville, Tennessee. And we'll get his take on how fun it's been to watch the growth of this team. Again, I suppose Clark Lee and Kirk Cignetti could maybe arm wrestle for best surprise story in college football in 2024. You got another one for me?
Man, I'm telling you, if Clark Lee and Vanderbilt didn't lose to Georgia State early in the year, then, that would be a really close arm wrestle. That would be tough to choose between. Indiana will probably take the cake because of their rise, but, look, if you would have said, Elijah, I'll give you, if Vanderbilt, wins even more than 4 games this year, you'll get $1 million. I'm like, oh my God, I'm making plans. I'm taking out, I'm making some irresponsible financial decisions because I would have known for a fact they're not winning more than 3 this year.
I wonder, in all seriousness, what the futures odds were in July on Vandy getting bowl eligible.
Well, the over-under for wins was 3.5.
Yeah.
They doubled it.
And we talked about how that felt doable.
Just because of the non-conference schedule.
But where were you going to get the other ones? And then, of course, they didn't beat Georgia State. But if nobody to go to Auburn and Kentucky, yes, those two schools are 2-10 in conference play combined.
Pretty brutal. But if you had told me in July when we were at media days, you'd be like, hey, fellas, Vanderbilt's going to lose at Georgia State. The over-under on their wins this year is 3.5. I think I would have made a pretty irresponsible financial decision to hammer that under. Yeah. An irresponsible one.
But we'll talk to Andrew coming up in just a little bit. Of course, Fridays mean Wild Card Showdown. That'll come up in the 5 o'clock hour. We got a lot of sound to get to from Shane Beamer. There's a lot going on around Gamecock athletics, in addition to what's going on in football, which will certainly be our primary focus. A really good game last night in baseball. Yes, fall ball, but Coach Holbrook's team hosting Coach Maneri's team down in Charleston, and the Cougars come away with a 12-11 fall ball win. So, man, you get to go down there, enjoy the Joe. You get some, some suds. You see 23 combined runs in a November baseball game. Not a bad night, right? That's not so bad.
It wasn't bad for Roy Williams. He was in attendance.
That's cool. I know he and Chad are very good friends. Last night as well, if we had the updates throughout a portion of the game at least. South Carolina women's soccer beating the SEC regular season champion Mississippi State 3-0. All 3 goals coming in the second half. The Gamecocks exploded out of the gate. We had that right at the end of our show. In the second half, scoring 2 goals in the first 5 minutes of the second half, and then adding a third a little bit later. This will be the 5th time under the leadership of Shelley Smith that South Carolina will play for the SEC Tournament Championship, and they've got a few under their belt. Texas beat Arkansas last night, so the Gamecocks and the Longhorns, and congrats to Texas, first year in the league. And
if you will.
That's right. And they're making the SEC championship game. But I don't know yet. We'll see in a couple of days. But, did last night's win do enough for Shelley's club to have a hosting opportunity in the NCAA tournament? They're definitely in.
It's a pretty good skin on the wall to have.
But that's a good one. And I think if you get this game Sunday, I really like your chances to host at that point in time. So we'll find out. But you'll have a couple of nice feathers in the cap at that point. A couple of NFL things to get to, and we'll do some of that with Langston in just a little bit, too. Really good game last night. I called Elijah this morning, and the first thing I said to him was that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to go 7-10 and be the 5th best team in football, aren't they?
And miss the playoffs, potentially.
They're really good, man. And, again, second half of that game was just fantastic. If you're just a sports fan, that was awesome. And I love Lamar and what he does. I love Burrow and what he does. I think they're 2 of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league. I really do believe that. Certainly Lamar has 2 MVPs under his belt. Burrow's already been to the Super Bowl. But Cincinnati just, for whatever reasons, doesn't finish games. I mean, the game with Baltimore in Cincinnati about a month ago, whenever it was, 6 weeks ago, went to overtime. This one was a nail-biter.
Went to overtime. They were up 2 scores.
I don't blame Cincinnati for going for 2. I want you to tell people what you told me, because I've never thought of it this way. And I'm not saying you necessarily swayed me for every moment, but tell people your theory, because this was I know it's tongue in cheek a little bit, but I also know you're also kind of serious.
I'm a little serious, yeah, because I've had this rule applied for determining whether or not you have your franchise quarterback and to sign them to a second contract, right? I call it the Derek Carr rule. It's you look at your quarterback and use all the sample size of his time as your starting QB. You look at him and say, is this quarterback better or worse than Derek Carr? If the answer is yes, you might as well sign him, because it is very risky to go back in the draft again unless you have like a top 3 pick to get a quarterback then and try to rebuild through them. You go ahead, bite the bullet. Even if it's like, the number 10 guy. Like Dak Prescott perfectly fit this rule. He is head and shoulders above Derek Carr. You sign him to that money, especially if you have a team around him, to be able to get you into the playoffs and make a run. If your quarterback is worse than Derek Carr, by your assessment, then you do not sign him. You do not extend the contract. You go ahead and take the risk, roll the dice in the draft, and try to rebuild after that, because it will not get any better. If your quarterback is Derek Carr, I'm very sorry. You're kind of stuck in no man's land. You're just going to pay a lot of money, and you hope that maybe you roll the dice afterwards to see what you have right now. But in relation to what happened last night, if it's you score a touchdown, you have a chance to tie with the extra point or go for 2 to go to win the game. Ask yourself this: is your quarterback better than Derek Carr? The answer is yes. I like your chances from 2 yards out. Right. Is your quarterback worse than Derek Carr? Then I don't love your chances from 2 yards out. Kick the extra point, maybe see if you can roll the dice in overtime. Also, side rule, another one you can also use, is the opposing quarterback Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes? If yes, go for 2, even if your quarterback is worse than Derek Carr.
Yeah, because they're going to beat you.
Because I've watched them enough to know exactly what those 2 can do. If the opposing quarterback is not Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, then revert back to the original Derek Carr rule, and there's your decision.
Yeah, it's a good principle to apply. And again, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, we saw Todd Bowles with this last week in Kansas City with the Chiefs, and they decided to play for overtime.
He did not follow the rule
in the rain. And then look, and then you can't say the coin. This is another thing though for me. Mm-hmm. And I know this didn't happen last night, but it did happen in the Chiefs game. I hate the NFL overtime rules, and I've made no secret of this. Mm-hmm. Again, I want football. If you're going to do it, play football. Just give me a 10-minute period. I know you can't call it a, quote, quarter, but give me a 10-minute period.
Call it a fifth.
And just play football. And if the team that wins the toss happens to score after 9 minutes and 58 seconds, and all there is going to be a quick kickoff and the game is over, okay, that's cool. All right? That's cool. But like I've said before, and I do think the logic applies. In basketball, you play 5 minutes of overtime. There's not 5 minutes of overtime, but if a team hits a three-pointer from 35 feet out, the game is over.
Right.
In baseball, you play another inning. You play another inning unless somebody hits a 500-foot home run or whatever. Like, that's not how it works. You play. Why? I'm not going to ask why can't you. We can do this in football, but for whatever reason, we don't want to. And they used to have sudden death and just play. And if you don't, if you think 10 minutes is too long, then put 6 minutes on the clock. I don't care what you do, but have a finite amount of time and allow that time to elapse.
I like that. And know what happens after overtime if you still have no winner after the 10 minutes? Humor me here.
Okay.
A 60-yard field goal shootout. You flip a coin, whoever gets to see who kicks first.
Right.
And then you go until one makes and one misses.
I would love that.
60 yards, because 50-yarders are automatic almost in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
But 60 yards, a little different. You get to choose the hash mark.
Huh?
Or no, the opposing team chooses your hash mark you kick from.
Huh? Okay.
And then, let's say last night we do this. The Ravens and Bengals go to overtime. We don't have a winner after 10 minutes. Ravens win the coin toss. They want to kick second. So you let Evan McPherson for the Bengals kick his 60-yarder first, but you have the regular special teams unit. It's not just him out there by himself.
Right.
Special teams unit, so you can try to block the kick.
Oh, I think it should be like soccer, right? Like have somebody there. You may as well defend it.
Yeah. So
hockey has its shootout. You know, it's one-on-one.
So you do a 60-yarder, and if McPherson hits it, and of course the Ravens get to choose the hash mark that kicker kicks from. And then if he hits it, then Tucker has to reciprocate that with a hit, or else the Bengals win.
Yeah.
Or if McPherson misses, then Tucker has a chance for the win. You do that until one or the other.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That way we don't have a draw.
60 yards.
But anyway, so it didn't happen last night, but the other night, and look, like you said, and the point I'm making here is one of the quarterbacks Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, and it just so happens that in the span of 4 days, those two quarterbacks are involved in late game drama in the sense of Kansas City. They go to overtime in the rain at home. Lamar and them last night avoid it because Cincinnati tried to win the football game. And I thought they were going to win the football game. I was like, oh, they're going to win, man. They're going to win. And just that was a poorly executed try. But anyway, fun game last night. Langston will weigh in on a lot of those things for you. So a lot to do today. Again, also tonight, Carolina, we came around to that with soccer and things like that because of the Carolina women. Also tonight, Lamont Ferris's team back on the hardwood over at CLA. SC State coming up from Orangeburg to take on the Gamecocks. Look, there's no such thing right now as must win, but South Carolina cannot lose another mid-major game the rest of the non-con.
You've already gotten your black eye out of the way.
We've talked about it. You've got 5 major conference games in the non-con. You can probably afford a couple of those as L's, but everybody else, and really you shouldn't lose those anyway, but you cannot lose another one. And that loss to North Florida, like I said, will I'm not going to say it will haunt the team, but it will linger around the team until such time.
Like the Cranberries.
As you can pretty much tell, they've done enough to just put that one aside for good. And we won't know that until sometime in February.
Yeah, whenever the bubble shapes up.
Yeah. So
which usually you can get a good idea as to what it's going to look like late January, early February. It shapes up a little bit. Yeah. You can project a little easier.
803-404-6100 for you to be a part of the program. Also, I guess we're not giving away tickets for tonight's game, but a little later on we are giving away tickets for the Towson game. Yes?
Yes.
So we'll do that coming up for you in just a little bit. Langston Moore on the other side of the break as we get ready for Carolina Vandy. You're listening to the Postgame Show. You know, gathering family and friends around the fire has been a holiday tradition. Well, let's face it, for decade upon decade, right? Centuries even. Now we're into the modern era, though, and Palmetto Propane is ready to help you upgrade your fireplace, whether it's propane or natural gas, with premium gas logs plus complete installation and service. And if you really want to get an idea of what these look and feel like, you can, because the Palmetto Propane Hearth and Patio Home Store showrooms are open, and you can really see what this would be like in your home. And some of these fireplaces now, y'all, look absolutely fantastic. In our many trips through the years to Palmetto Propane, I've really been impressed with how far these kind of gas logs have come in terms of the look inside the house. Plus, they've got outdoor fire features, grills, and so much more. Those stores are located in Aiken, West Columbia, Batesburg, Lexington, and Augusta. And you can always find out more about the great folks at Palmetto Propane when you log on, very simply, to palmettopropane.com. 19 minutes after 3 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you, and it is always a pleasure to be joined by our very good friend Langston Moore, the former Gamecock D lineman, team captain, draft pick of the Cincinnati Bengals, who we just talked about, and we'll get Langston's take on them in just a second. Husband, father, softball expert, barbecue aficionado, and, of course, children's book author, fantastic public speaker, and so much more. What did I leave out? How you doing?
I don't know, man. Me and Elijah were talking about primates and disposable thumbs just now, so I don't know how deep you want to get, man, but let's not get too deep. It's like a kiddie pool now.
All right, well, have any, let's see, when you were growing up, were there any primate escapes on James Island?
Not at all, not at all. There was this one time, Charlestown Landing, the closest thing we got adjacent to a zoo in South Carolina until you get up to the wonderful Columbia Zoo, of course. But there was an alligator that was in there. And this alligator, again, as I was a kid, it's like my football career. Like, the more I think about it, the alligator was like 2,000 pounds. It was a ton. I swear we saw this alligator every year as kids going to the Charlestown Landing. And then they had Hurricane Hugo, and this alligator, like, they found every other animal except this one alligator. So, you know, as a guy who frequents the marshes and, you know, I'll get talked into jumping off a dock every now and again. So, like, you know, these things live for like 100 years. So, I mean, 1989, 1990, Jay, it's still got to be around there somewhere, right? I like those monkeys. I don't know. What's the monkey shelf like? But an alligator, crocodile, whatever it was huge. I just wonder where that alligator is now.
Yeah, I'm thinking the alligators have a lot longer lifespan. They're a little slower and more methodical. I don't know about those rhesus monkeys that are currently running around the forests of Beaufort County right now, but I'll check on that. I love Charlestown Landing. That was the first time I ever saw a bison, and I just remember, I don't know, I was like 8. Right. I just remember staring at that thing like, wow, like I didn't even know those were real anymore because, you know, they almost weren't. And thank goodness they are again. But, all right, we'll talk wildlife and other things a little bit later on. Let's jump into this game tomorrow, but I'll start you with this. You were such a hospitable host when we were in Dallas this summer. If I had told you that week that South Carolina was going to beat Oklahoma and Texas A&M by a combined 50 points, where would you have sent me in Dallas to get checked out?
Oh, man, there's a lot of regenerative clinics, and there's a lot of, you know, a lot of famous former Cowboys are doing a lot of interesting, eclectic, different marketing things. Some guys are with some maybe fly-by-night dudes. They set up in a parking lot in a tent. Some of these guys are set up in, you know, brick-and-mortar places, but that's different. I don't know, because if you told me that early on in the season, and I mean, I can't be the only one that if you told me something like that, like, nah, but then you maybe even put, you know, the next sentence is that, and then you're going to have to go to Vanderbilt and play a team that beat Auburn, beat Alabama, had a chance to really take it to Texas. But, oh, by the way, they still lost to Georgia State, so it's still Auburn. I mean, it's still Vanderbilt. I wouldn't know what to tell you. I'd be like, what world is this? But, again, it seems like week to week, the college football and what we're putting together, this whole deal. If you want to go ahead and know what it's going to, I think we're going to definitely win Saturday, tomorrow. We can go ahead and put it. Because I think it's just one of those things for Vanderbilt. They're just going to run out of steam for us because they've been barreling through. They haven't had their bye week yet. But I think their magic is not out. I just think we're just going to get the benefit of them kind of getting sputtering out because there's only so much magic and so much of what they do, you know, option. We'll talk about some of that here in a little bit. But, man, if you told me those things in the beginning, Jay, I'd have been like, man, are you crazy? Have you been – is the bourbon not cooked out of this barbecue sauce yet? Or like, what's happening?
And if I would have told you, if I would have followed that up with, now, Langston, the over-under for Vanderbilt wins is 3.5. They will lose at Georgia State. You would probably put an ungodly amount of money for that under to hit, but then I would have conveniently left out that they beat Alabama and all those teams that you mentioned as well, and now they have 6 wins and are bowl eligible after the first Saturday in November. But you look at this Vanderbilt team right now, man, it's hard to really attribute, you know, maybe like one thing to their success. But I think the one thing everyone was going to look at is Diego Pavia and the toughness that kid has as the reason that they've no longer become, you know, your father's Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and again, take your hat off to Clark Lee. And we knew he had the defensive prowess. We know he had the care because, again, I mean, to be honest, like, you got a certain jobs, like, you have to, like, you're born into it. Like, this is your deal. You know, like, you're old fool. This is Clark Lee's deal. And so getting those kids to care as much as he cares, that's a tough deal. And that has nothing to do with the talent at Vanderbilt. There's a lot of kids that they kind of steal from. They have but like getting the care and getting them to just play smart, tough football and coupling that in with somebody like a Diego Pavia, and then coupling that in with the whole story that is that New Mexico State, bringing the whole offensive deal in. And that's something that's really, I think, is really interesting too, because again, you start to look across the landscape of college football, and we have one of these examples on our staff with obviously and Sean Elliott. But like, if you're a coach at New Mexico State or Georgia State, or even, I'm no discredit to like Coastal Carolina, but like, what is the ceiling in this new NIL deal, right? And so it's for Clark Lee to be smart enough to have the relationship, to have enough cojones to bring the whole entire offensive staff. They already have the quarterback in tow. He already has a lot of different things. Will that work? Like, all of that collectively together, not everybody can pull that off. And I can pull examples, I think, for South Carolina as well, doing the same thing. I just had a conversation with some very cool Gamecock alumni that are, yesterday, and we talked about a lot of the same things. Just the shrewdness of being able to utilize the NIL and the coaching and all the different things, because it's the same way we're seeing certain things in the NFL the same way. Green Bay Packers, they hired the Boston College head coach to just run their defense. So again, having the room and being smart enough and being, confident enough to have the right minds in the room. And it's all lined up very, very, very perfectly well for Vanderbilt, because again, a little bit of the option, a little bit of the swagger of Pavia, all of those things, it just brings us to this point of where we're at right now with this Vanderbilt story. And I don't think it's over. I just think it's going to be one of those deals that this gauntlet of SEC football is just going to beat you up. And they've taken their licks, but I also know they got a whole bunch left on this gauntlet too. But that's not our problem as a Gamecock. That's their problem.
It certainly seems like the Gamecock coaching staff, led by Shane Beamer, of course, is going to use the fact that Vanderbilt is ranked with 3 losses and South Carolina is not, as some level of motivation. I think it was Dowell, I forget which coordinator, but one of the coordinators also made mention of it, if not both of them, Langston. How well does that play inside the locker room, in your opinion?
So, of course, let's just be honest. You're going to respect your opponent. You got to respect your opponent. But there's probably been years in the past, because we haven't lost to, I think, since 2008, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, goes all the way back. So, like, that 2015 team, or I don't know what or 2016, like, you're saying we're not going to be the team that does it. We're not going to be the team that gives it up. Now, forward facing to everybody else, Rick Henry, and I mean, you're going to respect, but inside you're like, it ain't going to be us, man. Like, don't be that group, because this is what the lineage of Alabama is feeding all those dudes for the next probably decade or whatever. And, so it's the same way in our locker room. So you want to respect the opponent, but I think so even more so this year with this Vanderbilt team, I think it's really incumbent upon the coach, because, I mean, you say that before, and this is not the same old Vanderbilt. They got to hear, but no, this Vanderbilt team, it just has that kind of invisible kind of thing you can't measure when you start talking about momentum and moxie and confidence, and it showed itself. But then, again, Langston Moore puts his old football helmet on, and a guy who wears a football helmet ain't too smart, but like, you lost to Georgia State, man. I can't let that slide. And so we can't, and that's the thing, I think, where it's the balance of the coach being a professional, showing these kids that, okay, guys, it's a nameless, faceless opponent. That sounds good when we're talking about something really big, but also when we're talking about trying not to play down to an ideal, or because this Vanderbilt team isn't the old idea. It is a team that is, earned the right to be bowl eligible at this point. Still has an opportunity to really playing for weather at this point. And who knows what can happen if they can go out there. I just think, again, the physicality and the way that they play, there's only so many times that Cinderella can go. And I just think that, there might be another glass slipper moment for Vanderbilt, and it might happen for them. I just don't think it'll happen against us unless we just get turned over crazy. But again, let me not throw that out there into the wild.
He is Langston Moore, the former Gamecock. We'll continue discussing some of the matchups in this one, especially how that Gamecock defense goes up against Diego Pavia. Get a few NFL thoughts from our longtime pro vet as well. He is Langston Moore. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. This is the Postgame Show. Love telling you about our good friends at Integrated Media. Was texting back and forth today with our buddy Michael Geddes at Integrated and showing me some pictures and a few quick videos of what's going on at the brand new Pro Swing. Yes, Integrated Media's terrific golf simulation destination. They've got one out by world headquarters of Integrated Media in Chapin, but now the brand new one is going to be so much bigger and so much more modern. Is going to be right in the heart of Forest Acres. I am really excited about this on multiple levels, mainly because it's like 2 minutes from my house. But beyond that, I just love these things. These new Golf Zone simulators are awesome. So I'm looking forward to telling you more about that. And, of course, as we gear up for the football postseason, both college and pro and the holidays, need to get that home theater ready to go now and for years to come. 803-948-8327. Call my good friends at Integrated Media. .33 Friday. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. And again, joined on the guest line by our good friend, the former Gamecock and NFLer Langston Moore. We appreciate his time. Remember, if you are interested in all the things that Langston and Coach P are doing, you can find all that at athletesанdartists.net. like Just a Chicken Little, Used to Was a Rooster, the great series of children's books written by Langston and Coach P, illustrated by the amazing Kev Roche. These are great holiday gift ideas for that young reader in your life. More specifically, the young Gamecock reader. But as Langston says, they're not averse to any young reader enjoying the tales of what goes on down on the farm in the Just a Chicken series of books. So you got that. You got the Button Gut podcast, got the Fight podcast, how you can get Langston and Preston into a school or other speaking engagement near you. All of that available to you at athletesанdartists.net. Yeah, you know, like if I wanted to order like all the books and like, you know, have you sign it, I just need to like wait outside some school and then you sign all these books. Like, how's that work?
You got to do it like the Geico Dan Orlowski commercials, like he's waiting for an insurance salesman. Hey, I love his premiums. Nah, we have a couple of systems set up on with the interwebs and the computer systems, as the old coaches like to say on the internet. You can go to our website. There's some autographed copies. Now they won't be personalized to you or your Meemaw or your next door neighbor. A lot of people want us to always say something nice to Clemson fans or whoever who's up in there, but you can get our John Hancock. There's a couple places you can get those on our website, and we will have some other cool things coming up here in the future. So,
well, I think the price to say something nice to Clemson fans, that's like $1,000 book, right?
You know, it's like those Picasso things. Like the book is free, but if you want me to say something really smart and creative, that costs $1 million. It took me 30 years to come up with this material, baby. You know what I'm saying? The push-off game. But, we, you know, as we say, man, sometimes you just tell me a nice little funny story about a Clemson fan or something entertaining, which is probably one of the coolest things about being out on the road with our books is hearing the wealth of stories from football, Gamecock, Carolina, all types of stuff across the Southeast, because it is true, you know, it's football, family, then faith, or just depends upon if you want your faith to help your football. Sometimes your family gets in the way. I got it all figured out somehow, some way, Jay.
I know you do. I know you do. Yeah, it's all there. Dr. Moore, when we need him, it's all right there for you. No question. Let's go to your most direct area of expertise, and that is the defensive line. I would like you first to just assess really what you saw, especially after halftime last week, as South Carolina was able to score 27 unanswered, but the 2 4th-and-1 stops, and then begin. I'll just let them blend. Begin to apply what's been going on defensively the last really 2 or 3 games, Langston, and how you attack Diego Pavia tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I thought that first fourth down series where Texas A&M went for it, and they tried to come out with the barking calls, shotgun. They pretty much went to like 3 iterations of trying to draw us off sides, which is always, you know, a spot of contention for me because, you know, after 1 or 2, like the third one is coming, right? So as a coach, you're like, don't do it, don't jump. And usually either, you know, you look for a timeout or some type of gimmick, but then they check down into it, went underneath center, which, again, we usually don't see. And we got underneath our pads. And knocked them back for a loss, and then had the opportunity to do it a couple more times. And so that first kind of series just cemented to me that, you know, I had maybe an inkling of a doubt, like, maybe this thing is going to topple off. But this defense, all the things that I've heard from, like, insider folks that I've seen at practice every day, it feels like this is going to continue to be a historic defense because, I mean, it just continues to taper off. They seem hungry. It's obviously showing in their play, and it's not just one guy. It's like all of these guys scrambling, and it's like, you know, from our side, our vantage point, it's like a bunch of, you know, zombie folks just scraping, straining to try to get there. Couple that with their athletic ability to make a whole bunch of plays, and it shows that it just reeks on the film when you see the effort, all those things kind of show out there. And so that's been the most exciting thing. One biggest scare that I was worried about with this team was that we've just been fortunate enough to be able to get our game plan going defensively. And then that becomes an offensive game plan for us because we're able to generate turnovers, stops, fourth downs, all those different things, a bevy of ways that we've done it. I thought the team that would run at us directly and do it consistently would have our number, but we shut that down because there really wasn't any other opportunity for Texas A&M to do that. I understood that was going to be their mindset. I knew that was what Coach Elko was going to do when things got really rough for them. But on top of all that, I just continue. I am 100% sold. I maybe was like 98% with a little error margin in there, scared about the runs, but these guys continue to improve, and that's probably the most exciting thing. They continue to keep going like there is no ceiling. Now for Saturday, it's going to be like an option type of deal with just a little bit more flair, pizzazz. we got to make sure we put Vanderbilt in situations where it's going to be definite third and long situations. Well, now Pavia can scrape and get those third and kind of medium type of yards for us, but we don't want to put ourselves in those positions because, again, the benefit of our defense is getting you really backed up in long situations. Vanderbilt doesn't really have somebody that can stretch the field. We should have more than enough in the back end with, almost penciled in All-Americans, Nick Emmanuri, all those different guys back there, the way they've been playing. The biggest thing we can't do is give them short fields and give them those third and short opportunities. But, again, it's going to be kind of like playing an option kind of defense, option type of offense. We're going to have to really hammer in, do our job, stopping them. Might kind of slow us down a little bit, but once it kind of gets backed up, once we're trying to get a score up and they have definite passes, that's when we can release the hounds and do what we've done for the last couple of weeks.
And on the inverse, the offensive side of the ball, Langston, I don't know if I would have believed you if you came back in time and told me early in this year that you're going to play Texas A&M, the best rush defense in the SEC, and run for 243 on them. I mean, the perimeter run game on Saturday made it look like if you could lean on that element of your offense to be able to score enough points just to win games, and you took what's one of the more physical defensive fronts and pushed them around and beat them to the sidelines and hit on a bunch of really big explosive run plays throughout this game, and it really propelled them to win. Do you think this is maybe the element of the offense that they're just going to have to really go full bore and lean on to be able to win not just Saturday, but to be able to win enough games to do something really special this year?
I hope so, because, again, we can't expect Lenoris to do, the magic deal he did last week. Now, again, that was magic, missing, getting out of all of those sacks, holding on to the football, him not putting it down on the ground. Again, these are things I can barely touch my own feet, but let alone, run and use the football as a prop and continue to keep going. So hopefully the run game for us, and that's really, again, coupled with our defense, that seems to be improving. There's no cap on that. With this run game, I think there's no stopping to what we can do. Now, again, was that an anomaly last week? I don't think so, because we've rushed for 200 yards, maybe I think it was 3 separate times this year. We're averaging about 175. But on the flip side to that, this is, again, talking about this team and how they're led and their identity. Coach Lee is going to be a defensive-minded guy, and it shows across the field. I think they barely give up 110 yards rushing. So it's going to be a battle of our willingness to really try to hit those run plays, be consistent on the road, which is perfect for us when we go on the road because we can't account for all those offensive magics and miracles. Hopefully they come, but we can't bank on those deals for Christmas for us. So but one of the biggest things is going out there, continuing this run game. Hope it's not an anomaly, but understand that Vanderbilt will have a plan, and they will be willing to stick their face in the sand for 40 minutes or for 4 quarters because it's been shown all year, and this is what they do. They really want to make sure we eliminate that and try to get some turnovers and really force us to be a passing team.
When you think about a guy like Diego Pavia, whether it was, when you played in high school, in the SEC, in the NFL, here's a guy, he's not brash and arrogant the way some people might be in whatever walk of life. He's certainly confident. Elijah and I have been talking a lot that he just, you're not going to beat me. He's got that mindset. And I know certainly once, guys like you get to the NFL, you all have some level of belief in yourself like that. But tell me, Langston, how guys like that make a positive difference for their ball club, and especially a place like Vandy where they want to go play hard, but they just rarely have that talent level. What's he doing beyond football, in your estimation, to elevate them?
Yeah, it is infectious. It's like, I can sit here and rub my hands together and rub them very, 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 very hard, and I can disseminate some of that heat to you. Now, again, it won't hold on for too long, but, again, you can feel the warmth of that. Maybe that's enough to keep you going. Maybe that's enough to get your hands rubbing. You can feed me back. And that's kind of like how that works. That's a kind of invisible deal. The other thing on top of that is, like, Diego Pavia is like 6 foot, whatever. Like, please, get out of here with that. Because there's certain guys that are coming there and maybe, he snuck into Vanderbilt. He always wanted to be, but he's 6'5". He runs a 4, the talent thing. So when you're sitting around in the locker room, you're looking like, yeah, like I believe as long as we got you, brother. As long as we got Cam Newton in here, I don't care what happens. But but he's not the most physically imposing dude, and I think that's one of the things that he has that kind of like that. It's like momentum. You can't measure it, but I can feel it, and I see it, but it's like the wind. You know what I'm saying? But I can't explain it to you, but I just know in the moment, I'm glad I have a breathe, and I'm glad it does what it does. And it's the same way with Pavia. And on top of that, like we said, the Jerry Kill deal, he's probably another coach on the field. He can see a lot of the checks. his magic, his ball handling, just the ability to kind of manipulate, like all of those things are like a perfect storm for them to be where they are and be who they are this year. And again, it's all because of him. He's a tough dude. All of that stuff, I think, just really encompasses who they are versus like, oh man, he's just a gunslinger that transferred in from Western Illinois, and that guy, they missed on everybody. Like, that's a vastly different story, and I think that's the biggest thing for what's going on, because it feeds right into the whole narrative. And you just hear it when you hear the back little stories of Clark Lee when they're like, this is where we are. He doesn't have to yell. It's not like he's a jockey on a horse. He just feels like I have to whip harder to get them to play better. No, we just need to focus and do what we do. And that's probably been the most amazing thing. It's probably the most scary thing for me, because you get a group of folks like that together, they really can do whatever it is they want to do. The only thing that's really going to stop them is themselves, injury, something like that, or they're going to run out of time. So for us, we just got to go out there, focus, don't turn the football over, and fall into their game plan. And then reality can kind of come back in, and we can kind of continue the streak that we've had since 2008.
Final thoughts from Langston on the other side when it comes to Carolina's trip up to Nashville, and we need to get into a few of the big things going on around the National Football League from our NFL veteran. More to do with Langston when the postgame show returns. 11 minutes in front of 4 o'clock on this Football Friday. Welcome back in. I want to remind you, coming up in about a half hour's time, the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores, Andrew Allegretto, will join us live from Nashville, getting us ready from a Vandy perspective for tomorrow afternoon's game. Jay and Elijah with you right here. Our good friend Langston Moore joining us for a few more minutes. As a Cincinnati Bengal last night, going for 2, you were good with, not so much. How'd you feel?
Yeah, my thought process is on the road, behind, in a situation like that, you had the momentum, you go for the 2 right away. But if you're a home team, you keep kind of delaying because you got the advantage a little bit. So especially against what was across the way, Lamar Jackson, the boy just seems high. I mean, just seeing the numbers between them two the last 2 games, man, it's been ridiculous. And I think, I mean, if you need any inclination of how much more how much more can we do, man? Just look at Jamar Chase and that little interview, talk about a dude distraught. Like he really wants to say, man, come on, man, like what you want me to do, man? What you want me to do, man?
Well, and that's one of those games where because we've talked about it with the Gamecocks a little bit this year, Langston, and I'm serious about this. You know, like you can play well and lose. Sometimes it happens. I mean, sometimes maybe the guy's just that much better than you or whatever. But like some of the touch that Lamar was showing last night, and then the touch that, I mean, those aren't the two, look, Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. Lamar's probably number 2. Josh Allen's up there. But, I mean, those are 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks in football, in my opinion, last night. I mean, sometimes it's sports, man, right? Sometimes you just lose.
Right. It's just we're talking about like Clyde Drexler and Jordan. It's like this just the pinnacle. Like as they said, as we get better and get sharper, the road gets narrow and there's less people on it. And so the dude that you meet on that road, he's a bad dude too. So and that's the thing. At the end of it, it's like, we forget, and that's what we saw with them last night. At any moment, they can just, we can just run Lamar on the perimeter, and we have no reason to stop. We can't stop that. We forgot about the throws and the panache and all that little stuff like that. So, like you said, man, it's tough, man. You gotta try to take your advantages and your shot and use it all. But it just didn't work out well for him. I think that's also the benefit of what happened was had this been a Bengals team that had been a little bit more successful in the year, maybe some of those calls maybe get called for you. But when you the struggling Bengals at that point in that juncture, keep playing.
Yeah, Burrow said I never get those calls. But again, I was joking with Langston or with Elijah earlier, Langston, and I said, listen, this Bengals team's going to go like 7-10 and be the 5th best team in football.
Mm-hmm. It's a very good possibility. But this also is a bigger thing about timing, same way with Dallas, the problem, you're trying to, again, the Bengals did the right thing they put a lot on Jamar Chase. They put a lot on Burrow. Same thing for Dallas. Y'all put a lot on that dude, but there's a limit to that. We're talking about Wagyu steak versus just sirloin. Again, there's a difference. They're both great, but you're asking somebody to do a little bit more and be something that they're not, and it's showing itself here in Dallas. Not to get off on that tangent.
Yeah, well, that injury that he has, by the way, that sounds horrible. So I don't even.
He's not playing this year. There's no way you get him back at any point this season.
You don't need to. You don't need to at this point. You got to get that thing fixed.
Yeah, because he's going to be trade bait. He's going to be trade bait, right? This is the covert way that the Cowboys have been tanking.
All right. Well,
and it's working perfectly for them now. So
yeah, that's a good.
You got to heal him up so we can trade them off.
I hadn't thought about it.
Now we can trade them off, man.
Yeah.
We're already on to next season, Jay. Come on, we're trying to pre-sell tickets because it's over. It's over out here. It's over for this part.
I don't know who my Broncos made mad to have to play Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes in back-to-back weeks, but they do.
There's your coach.
I guess so. There's not really a chance for my team this weekend, right?
Man, and come on, Herm Edwards would suggest otherwise, man. You play to win the game, man. So again, you already pulled out the trick play last week. You're running full on college go, putting your franchise quarterback out there, wide receiver doing all. So again, who knows what's going to happen, Jay? You just got to show up and play. But truthfully, y'all got a good defense. Y'all got some stuff running. I got some stuff going. It's just y'all just ran into that buzzsaw last week.
Now I tell Elijah,
this is what it is.
Yes, listen, a fantastic defense and an offense that is allergic to scoring points.
But here's the thing. When you got Sean Payton, because if there's one thing, he's going to be maniacal about that. He doesn't have to worry about the defense. He's up at night. Trust me, he is losing his mind in a healthy way, not in what's my man from Florida, not in that ambient type of way. He's not doing it in that type of way. He's doing it in a healthier type of way. So it's only a matter of time. You just got to, I think for you guys, it's got to stay healthy. But like you also said, man, there's a lot of football left, and y'all just ran into that buzzsaw. Really, this is I mean, this is what it is.
All right, I'm going to give you about a 30-second. I did this to Brewer the other day. I'm going to give you about a 30-second channel your inner Lou Holtz in the speech tomorrow in Nashville.
Oh, man. Oh, channel my inner Lou Holtz. Let's see what the angle Lou Holtz would do. Lou would say they never respected us. It's been. I don't care if we've beat them for the last 20 years, but I'm gonna just say, Brewer, you should be. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm really going back into the locker. Brewer, you should be playing over there. You look like Diego Pavia. Probably Coach Holtz would have had Brewer playing Diego Pavia in practice all week just to make him mad, and then make us mad and make us, So I'm probably there was probably some magic or mixed up in there. Lou would have done something. Like I told you, man, that's probably the best gift he had, is the ability to hit those thumb screws and really be like, did that little piece of a man just say what I thought he said? And it works. And you fall for it every time.
Good stuff as always, sir. We appreciate you. Enjoy all of it. Again, athletesandartists.net for all the Just a Chicken books and so much more. And follow Langston on Twitter if you don't already. Remove the chains is the way to do that. Again, we appreciate you. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate you guys.
That is Langston Moore. Hour 2 is coming up. Want to tell you about our buddies at Minuteman Press, right down the block from us here on Gervais Street in downtown Columbia. They're in the old Apex Graphics building, which has a decades-long history of helping businesses with a lot of things. But now, Minuteman is not only taking over the printing part, but now promotional items that can help you grow your business. From those who are just starting out with signage and promotional things like, shirts, banners, mugs, pencils. Listen, 300,000 items that they have at their disposal to help you grow your business. And as the holidays near, how about gift ideas to thank your clients and your customers? Mugs, pen and pencil sets, you name it. They've got it for you at Minuteman Press. And the local owners are really ready to help you out. Ken and Anna Holloway went to Carolina. They're based right here in Columbia, and they know what this community is all about when it comes to growing a business. Heck, they're doing it right now with Minuteman Press. Check them out online at Minuteman.com and see what they can do to help you grow your business.
more you win, the more individual accolades and honors come your way as well. And that was great to see. So kudos to Steve and his team for all their help on that one. Really happy for our players to be recognized also. And like I told them this week when we found those out, we need to go play well on Saturdays so we can make this a regular occurrence, the SEC and national winners each week, award winners.
Shane Beamer on Carolina Calls last night. There's the best advice is what I always say. Don't let it bother you. Keep winning. It's sports. Keep winning, and the things you want, honors, rankings, prestige, glory,
high fives.
They'll all be there for you, right? They'll all be there for you.
All the high fives.
Welcome back in. Second hour of the postgame show coming at you from the Herndon Chevy Studios in downtown Columbia. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Thanks again to Langston Moore for joining us. We ran out of time. I was telling Elijah, and those of you who are regulars to the station obviously know that Langston has been a regular part of what we do for at least a dozen years.
Long time.
Longer than that, probably. I'm trying to give about that. Anyway, I was going to ask Langston. I know Langston does yoga to stay in good shape, as millions of people do. But he said, touching his own feet or toes can be difficult. And Langston's a defensive tackle, man. I mean, I can appreciate that that's more difficult than some. But I was going to ask him what it's like to get hollered at by like a yoga instructor, relative to what he's used to being hollered at, like by a football coach.
Or would he even consider it being hollered at? Does it cross the line into being? Has any Bikram yoga
figurative
instructor,
hollering? I suppose.
Yeah,
right.
Like what is the most of a hollering he gets in that scenario?
Yeah, I mean, because Langston's used to football coaches, and as someone like I am that has been married a long time, you get your wife's gonna holler at you. Can't really escape that.
No, it's gonna happen.
It
eventually.
Happens. Yeah, it's really not an if.
It's a win.
Yeah, it's really more of a how often.
Also very true.
It's not just a win; it's a how often. But we'll do that next time. We'll do that next time. And then Elijah had just to have more fun with the visuals of it all. Imagining Lou Holtz as a yoga instructor, and so that's
it's an SNL bit.
Yeah, that's a Saturday Night Live bit ready to go. Or at least like an SEC shorts or something. I don't know, but there's material. There, I like that. Lou Holtz as a yoga instructor. Yeah.
Perfect.
The
possibilities there are endless.
Let that race around in your mind for a while. While I'll tell you what, all of you, while you're some of you might be leaving soon to head to Nashville. I hope not too many of you are like my very good friend and co-host Elijah Campbell, who will be doing the high school scoreboard show tonight, then driving the overnight shift.
Yeah, we're a night owl tonight, baby.
But I will say this much. You're attacking I-40 the right way, since I-40 is partially closed.
I don't even know if so I'm just going to rely on my phone to tell me the fastest way there. So I don't know.
It might want you to go to Atlanta, huh?
It might.
Yeah.
I haven't even made that part of the game plan yet. I'm just going to let Waze tell me where to go.
I think overnight you're going to be okay on 40.
You think so?
I do. You just won't get to enjoy the mountains. You'll be like, I know there's mountains out here somewhere.
Oh yeah, I've seen them enough. I've made the drive a lot.
That's true.
But maybe, and that drive at night already is kind of tricky. But you are correct. I've made that drive overnight before.
Yeah.
Because I did that I didn't do that for the Kentucky game. I got up really early for the Kentucky game.
Right.
But I have made the drive after a late night here to that part of the
long way, man.
It is. It's a haul. But you know what?
I'm impressed.
That's what caffeine is for, and for long form podcasts. So
I'm impressed. Don't listen to anything scary though. I don't want you to listen to like Bigfoot Hunter podcasts while you're driving through.
It might keep me awake. That's the thing. I listen to things that can keep me awake. So I have my death metal playlist. I can jam out to. I can dig into the darker recesses of my music.
Whatever it takes, man. I mean, I'm here for you.
Some really intriguing podcasts. I've got a lot that are on deck that last like an hour and a half. So I can be like, I can listen to like 3 of these.
I try to remember the guy's name. I don't know if I imagine he's. I don't know. There was a guy back in the day that had like an overnight radio show, nationally syndicated. Some of y'all know who I'm talking about. I just can't think of his name. But his show was just like what you might expect for a show that ran like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. UFOs, aliens, Bigfoot,
getting as weird as
people
possible.
with foreheads, Are we all actually living in the pocket of like a giant alien clown from another galaxy?
Then you start getting into string theory and things.
All those kind of things.
Things get really weird.
Somebody hit us up on the text line. What was that guy's name? God, it's going to bug me now. But anyway, yeah. So
if I can find some of that, I mean, I don't know if
you can find it.
They still do the show. If there's any way that I could possibly access maybe older episodes.
Yeah, you can find it.
I might dig into that tonight because I assume I'm probably not going to get into because I'm staying at a friend's house. My best friend from back home has been gracious enough to loan me his spare bedroom so I can do the pregame show with Tyler from tomorrow. I'll probably get
by the way, starts at 11 o'clock.
Yes. Then it'll be 10 o'clock where I'm at. I'll probably get there at like 4. I'll take me a nice little nap, get up, make some coffee.
Oh, if you're going to get there at 4, you don't have to go on until 10. You're good, man.
That is the thing, though. It's I sleep like a hibernating bear.
Well, somebody will wake you up. I'll call you.
Yeah, give me the wake up call.
Yeah, I'll call you. Don't worry. I'll say some vile things to you, and that'll get you right up and going.
Riled up, ready to rumble.
But yeah, tomorrow morning, Gamecocks game day at O'Hara's, and then the O'Hara's watch party once the game kicks off. Our sheet here says, at first I kind of glanced, I was like, wait, the Commodores are going to be at O'Hara's tomorrow? But it's not actually the Commodores. It's just watching the Gamecocks and the Commodores. All right, I tried. 803-404-6100 to be a part of the program. Let's get on the phone lines, and Mason is going to talk to us today. Hey, Mason, how are you?
Doing great. How y'all doing?
Doing well, bud.
So we're actually on the way to Nashville right now for the game. And
cool.
As we were sitting here riding, I was just thinking, we never want any of the players to overthink games or anything like that. But should we be more worried from a statistical standpoint and how we match up standpoint with Vandy or with A&M? I mean, Vandy or Missouri, my fault. I'm sorry.
Ooh, wow. Statistically, okay. Well, if Missouri is at full strength, and I don't know what they're going to be like next week. Brady Cook has been banged up, and he's not really,
with multiple injuries too. It's not just his ankle anymore too. He got hurt again in that Bama game,
and that offense just hasn't really seemed to be able to click. I mean, you think about it, Mason. Vandy took Missouri to double overtime in Como. I don't know if that answers your question indirectly or not, but I don't know that right now there is a whole lot of difference between these two ball clubs. I think the thing that worries me, and this isn't even really about tomorrow, Mason, when it comes to Missouri, it's just that South Carolina football, whoever's coaching them, whoever's playing for them, can't beat bleeping Eli Drinkwitz. So
that guy has somehow become the boogeyman for this football program.
Am I more worried about just having to scheme up against Eli than anything else? But I would say from a how they are playing this season standpoint, I mean, I don't see a lot of separation between the two. Again, if Mizzou were at full health and strength, that would be a different story, but I'm not really sure that they are or have been most of the year.
They're just significantly more talented than Vanderbilt. And that's kind of the weird disconnect with Missouri, right? They still have like gobs of talent, man.
Yeah.
They have just underachieved compared to what they have on offense. Like Leo Burden, or not Leo, wow, I combined.
Luther,
combined Theo Weiss and Luther Burden mentally. But Luther Burden is going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft and will be a successful receiver at the next level.
Right.
Theo Weiss won't be a first-rounder, but he'll get drafted. And Theo Weiss, I think, can be a really solid receiver at the next level. Mookie Cooper's a really good receiver. They got like 4 guys who can catch the football who are playmakers and can do so maybe at the next level. Brady Cook is a solid quarterback. I think he's probably a little overrated going into this year and compared to what other people thought his place was in the pantheon of SEC quarterbacks, but they're just significantly more talented. They lost a lot, like secondary-wise, but they still had a really good defensive front, but none of that's really come to fruition this year to the level it was really supposed to, or when they play good teams. And I saw them basically quit in the early third quarter against A&M. They had a touchdown wiped off the board, and A&M snatched their soul because they continued to play physical and they pushed them around. I saw them quit against Alabama when Alabama started pushing them around. I think if you push around Missouri a little bit, they have more quitability in them than Vanderbilt, despite having significantly more talent.
That's fair. Go ahead, Mason.
I think that one thing, and it's funny y'all bring up the whole point with Drinkwitz, because I feel like the team that Beamer has built this year, I don't think we've had in a while since Missouri's been under Drinkwitz. So I think we have a really good shot to kind of break that notion this year. I was excited to kind of look back and see what A&M did to Missouri, though, and to see how well we matched up. But A&M also played Missouri at home, and they played us on the road. So that's another kind of thing to throw into there. I think that Brady Cook is a really good quarterback when he has time. That's one thing that we haven't had against him in the past is the elite pass rush that we've had. So I'm kind of excited to see what we can do with our pass rush. And that's also like one reason why I'm kind of worried about Vanderbilt. I mean, I was sitting here thinking, Pavia is really good with his legs, and we saw that we were able to contain Marcel Reed last week. Can we do that with Pavia? If we can, he's going to have to bail himself out with his arm, and I don't think he's proven in that area greatly. So I think that gives us a chance. But, it's just something that I was just kind of thinking about as we were on the way up.
And the most boring answer I could give you, Mason, in all honesty, is listen, just go beat Vanderbilt tomorrow and then worry about Missouri next week. But I get the question you're asking, and you hit on it. Listen, and this is why I've been kind of banging this drum this week. South Carolina's won their last two games against Oklahoma and Texas A&M by a combined 50 points. It is primarily because of how dominant the defense has been. And it gives the offense that many more opportunities to put points on the board. Just go do what you do on defense. Set the tone on defense. Make Vanderbilt skittish early on, because of what you do defensively, and allow things to play out that way. That's where Carolina is going to win every game they play. But I've gotten to a point now where I expect South Carolina to, if they do those things, to be 8-3 going to Clemson.
Yeah, dominate first and second down too. That's the thing. And with Diego Pavia, in terms of really good scrambler, the really difference in him and Marcel Reed is Pavia is really not afraid at all of contact. And might be the fearless quarterback in terms of contact in football, in college football. And as a matter of fact, I feel like he just seeks it out, right? The guy breaks almost 3 tackles a game or forces 3 missed tackles a game. And he picks up a little over 3.4 yards after contact with each rush that he has. And that's because he does not care what the sideline is. Guys like Marcel Reed, who may be a little thinner frame, like Marcel's a little thinner, will find the sideline, and rightfully so. Diego Pavia he's kind of got the mentality of a kamikaze pilot. He will try to seek out the contact and is not afraid of it. That's his thing too. But I think if you really just dominate first and second down and you get them in 3rd and 7s, you're going to make them punt more often than not. The one thing that Vanderbilt does is they play each down at a time. Like they're trying to slowly move the chains. They're not an incredibly explosive team because their goal is to get on 3rd and 2 and be able to convert the game that way, because that way they hold on to the ball longer because they know they're just not as talented as every team they play in this league.
Mason, good phone call, buddy. Appreciate it. Safe travels up through the gorge and on into Music City. And don't throw anything at Elijah if he nods off at the press box, all right? Just yell. Don't throw anything directly at him.
Or do. That might wake
him up. It might help. I don't want Mason to get in trouble.
A nice thud on the press box glass might be enough to jar me awake a little bit.
Don't worry, Cloninger will hit you if he has to.
Cloninger might do worse. I might get put in a headlock at some point during that game. I'm not going to lie.
Don't put it past him. We'll stay with that. Speaking of the press box, a guy who will be in it tomorrow, calling the game, the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores, Andrew Allegretta, will join us on the other side. It's the postgame show. Well, guys, whether we like it or not, as we get a little bit older, things start to slow down and change from the way they were when we were younger, right? That's the best way to say it. But sometimes you think, well, what am I going to do? There's nothing I can really do about it. Not at all the case. What you can do is set up a consultation and go see our good friend Dr. Dan Balknight and his team at the Men's Clinic. For years, they have helped all kinds of men across the Midlands of South Carolina feel better and get back to what they want to be. No magic pills, no one-size-fits-all. It's a one-on-one consultation. It's a prescribed plan that is just right for you. They're dedicated to making you feel like yourself again. Set up that consultation. Do yourself and your family a favor. 803-875-MENS. And go online to learn more. TheMen'sClinicSC.com. Nineteen minutes after 4 o'clock on this Football Friday. Welcome back in alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. I'll remind you that in just a little bit, we'll give you a chance to win tickets to the Gamecocks men's basketball game next week against Towson. There is a game tonight. We don't have tickets for that one, but you can get them down there at the arena. But we'll give you some tickets for next week against Towson coming up in just a little bit. As promised, the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores joins us on the guest line from Nashville. He is Andrew Allegretta. He also knows his way around the low country of South Carolina, having worked down there for a bit earlier in his career. Appreciate the time, sir. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, I live down in Ladson, of all places, just outside of North Charleston. That was a very brief stay, but I did enjoy it thoroughly.
Yeah, well, it's very humid down there, just like it is here. But at least there's a beach. There's a beach closer by, so there's that part of it. I could ask you the easy. Boy, did you see this coming? I'm not going to do that. We're 9 games into Vanderbilt's schedule at this point. But let me ask what you believe the biggest difference is for this ball club this season.
Diego Pavia, are we done?
I kind of figured you might go there.
It's there's a lot of nuance around that, but there's no doubt that Diego is such a catalyzing figure for this program. The other 2 really significant parts, maybe 3 that I can touch on, was Clark installing himself as the defensive coordinator. There's no doubt in my mind that Clark's best defensive coordinator in 4 years is himself. It's not even close. The change to go to Tim Beck in that style of offense has proved to be very, very fruitful. It's not like universally successful. There's going to be hiccups and problems, but it's been very, very successful for Vanderbilt and very in line with how Clark wants to play football. And then the third thing, which is probably more talked about locally compared to externally, is just I'm not saying Vanderbilt has thrown hundreds of millions of dollars at its name, image, likeness operation, but it's engaged. And I think Vanderbilt, writ large, but certainly the football program, tiptoed into the whole process. And, they're not Ohio State, they're not Georgia, they're not Alabama, they're not so on and so forth, but there's enough resources there to make them, engaged in the process in 2024. So those probably are the 3 things.
And they beat Alabama, so there's that.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
But one thing that I've noticed too, that in this guy, everywhere he goes, he seems to win, and that's Jerry Kill. And we can see what Diego Pavia does on the field, and it's pretty obvious that kid's toughness and leadership will win a lot of games. But what's it been like with this team, with just having Jerry Kill in the position that he's in to really help out? And maybe, I don't know if it's instilling a culture within this team of winning, but it seems like everywhere Jerry's gone, Jerry has won at various levels. So what's that impact bringing him in this season been like for the Commodores?
Yeah, his impact is cutting through the BS to shoot point blank. My color analyst on the broadcast, his name is Norm Jordan. He's a former Vanderbilt running back from the 80s. And he always says, and it underscores Jerry Kill, like, there's 1,000 things to worry about in college football. I mean, seriously, like, someone's got this issue going on, some players got that, some donor has this problem, something's wrong with the renovations here, there, whatever. But really good coaches can cut through the noise and focus on like the 3 or 4 things that actually matter, like coaching your guys and coming up with a good game plan and whatever. And Jerry is outrageously skilled at knowing what those 3 to 4 things are, and then on top of it, helping Clark understand. Like Clark's a good coach. I don't think Clark is all of a sudden this miraculously better coach in 2024 than he was in 2022. He was, candidly still learning to be a head coach, but I think Jerry did put that on hyperdrive for him. Like, hey man, you don't need to worry about all of these things. Like, this is the stuff that actually wins and loses ball games. And that's been really, really fruitful for Clark and for the team.
I think you could certainly make us some comparisons to what Pete Limbo did here in Columbia for Shane Beamer before Pete went on to be the head coach again up at Buffalo. So that's an excellent answer there in terms of what Clark's looking at. Andrew Allegretto is with us, the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores. Carolina and Vandy tomorrow, 4:15 Eastern time. We'll have it for you, of course, all-day coverage here on the game. Andrew, as you well know, South Carolina is really making its bones with pressure from up front on defense. That's the certainly the best unit on this football team. Who has Vanderbilt seen that compares, and what might South Carolina be most troubled by when it comes to doing what they do best, and how Vandy wants to negate it?
Frankly, I think this is the best defensive line that Vanderbilt has faced all season, in a season that includes Texas and Alabama. So I think that speaks volumes to especially the edge pressure of Kennard and Stewart. That is pretty unique for the South Carolina program. Is it the best overall defense that Vanderbilt has faced? I don't know. That's hard to say. I think Vanderbilt flat out out-schemed Alabama without knowing every little nuance of the X's and O's. I mean, certainly Vanderbilt scored 40 points against Alabama, and they did not adjust quickly enough to Tim Beck and Diego Pavia. I don't know that there's a single team that Vanderbilt has faced that's like this. What I do know is that Vanderbilt has, if you take a step back, I am glad we're seeing this defensive line at this point in the season from a Vanderbilt perspective. Only because we have put enough stuff on tape for people to have already game planned against us. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, if this was week 3 or 4 and we were going up against this defensive line, they would have a counter to our stuff, and I don't know that we would have seen enough of those counters to have a counter to the counter, right? So from a Vanderbilt perspective, I think we've just seen really talented edge players in general, maybe not this talented, but really talented, to at least let this team work through option B, C, and D. And it's going to be more than just like, hey, let's run the option with Diego Pavia. Like, they've been more concerned with getting back up the middle because teams are so focused on controlling the edge, or they've been more willing to take some chances down the field because teams are crowding the box to stop the run, that sort of stuff. So I just, from a Vanderbilt scheme standpoint, they have seen enough on tape about how teams wanted to defend them to have some counters of their own.
And my favorite thing about this Vanderbilt team, too, is they might be like the most self-aware team in football. They know they have a pathway to win games, and that's why I believe the leaders in the SEC in time of possession, not turning the ball over frequently. They rarely beat themselves. Whenever I watch them, I'm like, wow, this team just does a really good job of not shooting themselves in the foot. But especially like on offense, too, I think one way to be able to extend, time of possession and dominate it the way they do is they're awesome on third down. What do you think maybe is the biggest key for a team just to be that good on third down and not commit the penalties that a lot of offenses do to put themselves behind the sticks?
Well, just back to the not beating yourself point. It wasn't universally that way. Like Vanderbilt had 8, 9, 10, 11 penalties in the first couple of games versus Virginia Tech and Alcorn, Georgia State, and we were going like, what's happening? But if you pull up the SEC stats now, Vanderbilt, I think, is 4th in the conference in penalties per game. Like, they have. So if you take away the other 3 games, like the little penalties they've committed in the past month or so is almost startling. That has been a massive progression throughout the course of the season. Now, the other bit is, respectfully, you're pulling up some season-long third down statistics. The past couple of weeks have not been great. Texas, I think, kept us to like 3 for 12 on third downs or something in that territory. And then last week versus Auburn, like, we lived in third down and 9. And it was really difficult. Like, to an extent, Vanderbilt's best offense versus Auburn was some Auburn penalties late in the ball game that gave Vanderbilt another chance. Like, Vanderbilt scored its last touchdown after Auburn was called for a leveraging penalty on a field goal. So again, teams have started to scheme really well against Vanderbilt and put Vanderbilt in more third down and 9s, which, nobody's built for that, but certainly it's not Vanderbilt's best offense. When Vanderbilt is handling third down really well, it's in third down and 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, like anybody else. And when they're in that package, yes, everybody's got a lot of tricks in the bag for third down and 1. But just schematically, the way that Vanderbilt goes about this, if you want to call it option offense, if you want to call it multiple, if you want to call it eye candy, whatever, there's enough deception going on that third and 1 becomes that much more difficult with the way Vanderbilt runs its offense.
Andrew, we appreciate the time, man. Have a great call tomorrow. It's been fun watching what this team is doing. I know Gamecock fans want to get a W, but this Vandy team, one of the big stories. We appreciate it, man. We'll talk down the line.
You're very, very welcome. Be prepped. It's going to be it's our most star-studded game because we've got Nate Bargatze dropping the anchor for us, and the guy from the SEC Shorts that plays the Vandy King.
Right.
We'll be in full garb. So this is one of the games of the weekend.
Yeah, sure. With the soundtrack, I hope, man. That's absolutely been fun, and Nate is certainly awesome too. Good stuff. I appreciate it, man.
All right, thanks.
That is the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores, Andrew Allegretta. You can follow him on Twitter, Allegretta, Allegretta. ETTA. There, I can spell it. There it is.
I hope so. You're reading it off the monitor.
I was.
I would have been really stunned if you didn't.
The drive around the SEC is next. Oh, waking up a little stiff. Oh, man, this hurts. My neck, my shoulder, and nothing seems to click the way I need it to. Well, then it might be time for you to go see the experts at the Joint Chiropractic Centers. And here's the good news. There's 4 of them around the Midlands of South Carolina. Harbison, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch off Killian in the Northeast, Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. The Joint is convenient. It's affordable. It helps you maintain a healthy body, and they can help you prevent reoccurring issues. That is the main goal that local owners Janet and Bob Keene have. They just want their patients to live a better life. Now listen, you don't need insurance. You don't need appointments. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 7, and Saturdays, 10 until 4. You can learn more at thejoint.com, and they've got centers all across the country. So when you travel for work or pleasure or sports, you can go see those folks too. Remember, at The Joint, you don't have to feel bad to feel better.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to, they're causing some issues on the roadways. We're going to start with the ones in Richland County. Got an accident on Columbiana Drive at Columbiana Circle, one on Forest Drive near Highway 12 and Percival Road, one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at North Grampian Hills Road, and one on Polo Road near Alpine Road. In Lexington County, we have a few as well, starting with one on I-26 eastbound at Augusta Road and exit 111, one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road near Krebs Street, and lastly, one on Fish Hatchery Road near Busby Road.
This is the one where I'm supposed to start talking, but I don't want to. This is my favorite bump. Well, it's one of my favorite bumps, no doubt. No doubt. Welcome back into the post-game show. Jay and Elijah with you. Coming up just a little bit, we'll give you a chance to win a pair of tickets to see the Gamecocks and Towson State. I don't know if they're still – they're not Towson State anymore, are they?
They dropped the state.
Yeah, they're just Towson. Not a lot of schools are doing that anymore. Like Memphis State, not anymore.
Drop the state, yeah.
If you don't need it, I suppose.
I'd like for Ohio State to drop the. Make like Facebook and drop the.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like I don't know, is Ohio U a public school? Like Penn, like the University of Pennsylvania is a private school, but it's so old that like the government of Pennsylvania can't just go in and say, "Hey, y'all can't be that." Plus, it's like really prestigious, and so they're probably proud of it. But
they don't want to be haunted by the ghost of William Penn. That's why.
Yes,
you don't want that. I'm telling you, you do not want that
because he looks just like that dude on the Quaker Oats box, and that guy
is the Quaker Oats guy.
Yeah,
I don't know that for a fact, but that's how I envision.
That's how I always envisioned him too. Yes,
makes killer oatmeal.
I'll say I love that oatmeal.
It's good.
Yeah, I don't even.
They make great granola bars too. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Quaker Oats granola bars. Classics. I don't be staples in my household.
I don't know that I've ever had. I probably have somewhere. Well, I don't think I've ever. I can't recall another brand of oatmeal.
Not one that I care about trying.
Quaker. Yeah.
A brand loyalist.
All right. I don't know how we got on that, but
my boy Willie.
No, Towson. That's how. See, sometimes my brain will go so quick. Squirrel. Ford even told me that the other day. He was like, you can do that, right? I was like, yeah, I can. It's not hard.
And nothing's stopping me.
It's not hard. Yeah. Squirrel. I promise you.
Oh, Mira and I were watching Scarface the other night, and all it took
a fine film.
Was the opening scene for me to eventually take 5 minutes to get down a rabbit hole to find out where Batista ended up going after the Cuban Revolution, because I was just so curious. I went through a Wikipedia rabbit hole for like the next 30 minutes.
That's great.
Because that's how my brain works.
I love that. I do that kind of stuff.
It's bad.
All the time.
It's bad.
On Fridays, we do the drive around the SEC a little bit earlier, so let's jump into it for you. We'll come around to the big games in just a second. Mississippi State is going to be at Tennessee. That's tomorrow night at 7 o'clock up at General Nealon's house. 24.5-point favorites. I think we talked about it earlier in the week, but I feel like Tennessee probably needs to cover that spread. I don't know how much the committee looks at the spread. Steve Spurrier used to always call it a barometer, that it wasn't a gambling thing to him, but it was at least some measure. And again, spreads aren't predictions, but would you agree that Tennessee might need to cover the spread against a team that has yet to win a conference game?
I think you should win by at least 2 scores.
Okay.
Because that same Mississippi State team did go to Georgia and score 31 points, and I felt like that just kind of went under the radar.
Man. I told you why, and I'm sticking to it.
I feel like that just went under the radar, and that was not a red flag against Georgia, so it shouldn't be a red flag, I guess, maybe against Tennessee. Unless they score 31 points and Tennessee scores 20, then absolutely, yeah. That is a demonstrably bad red flag, but you got to win that game by multiple scores. That can't be remotely close. It's got to be more of a blowout than the Kentucky game was last Saturday.
Oklahoma is now a 3-point favorite at Missouri. The Sooners opened as 1-point underdogs, so this line has shifted through the week toward the Sooners. I have been saying for 2 weeks since
Brady
South Carolina played Oklahoma, however long that was, I was like, Oklahoma's going to beat Missouri, and I'm sticking to that.
Yeah, I mean, Brady Cook must not be playing. That's what that line tells me. Is that Drew Pine, is that quarterback in Missouri is hopeless?
Well, I just think the Oklahoma defense is it's very good, man. Again, I know Carolina ended up winning that game comfortably, but since that's our one experience with watching them play, a full ball game, I just feel like they'll get after Missouri enough. And there is a history with these schools. Now, not with these players, obviously.
Right.
But there's a history, at least with these fan bases and things like that. And I just, I don't know. I've been saying it the whole time. I think Oklahoma's going to, I say the whole time, but for the last 2 weeks or so, I think Oklahoma's going to win that game. I really do. I'll get the availability report real quick here to see what they say about that. Let's see. Missouri, Brady Cook is listed as questionable. So is running back Nate Noel. Questionable.
Yeah, if Drew Pine plays, Oklahoma wins. If Brady Cook plays, I don't know if I still trust Oklahoma to score enough points to win this game.
Florida goes to Texas. DJ Lagway is also questionable for the Gators. They are 21.5-point underdogs. I would say the same thing of Texas that I would of Tennessee. You probably need to cover that spread.
Or win demonstrably.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing, too.
And then finally, the two big games, and they both have identical spreads. Georgia is in Oxford tomorrow afternoon. The Bulldogs, 2.5-point favorites over Ole Miss. If the Georgia defense that went to Austin shows up in Oxford, Georgia's going to win this football game. And that's really, I think, where this game hinges. It's that simple. Well, Carson Beck better not turn to bleeping ball over 3 times again.
Oh, if he does that against Ole Miss, they lose.
Yeah, they will.
On the road, it's going to be.
And I don't know what's up with him, man.
Has he always been this way? But Brock Bowers covers up. Brock Bowers being the perfect concealer.
Maybe, and again, McConkey too. Maybe
McConkey as well.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't mind a quarterback that believes he can make every throw. That's fine.
Yeah.
I need you to have a high level.
Somebody who can do that.
Yeah, but when you realize, like after say the second one, I need to not be doing the same thing over and over again when I'm turning the ball over.
Can I trust you not to shoot yourself in the foot?
Yeah, it's something like that. But Ole Miss, really took it to Arkansas last week. And when the Ole Miss is at their very best, they're very, very good. But they do seem to have a little Jekyll and Hyde in them.
Yeah, they certainly do, especially on offense. Ultimately, I think it's kind of evened out to the point where better more often than not, but they will take possessions off, I have noticed. I
think Georgia gets after it defensively, and Georgia wins that football game. And then, interestingly, this one's more interesting to me in terms of the road team being the favorite, but Alabama going to LSU tomorrow night. That's a 7:30 Eastern time kick at Death Valley West.
With some Tiger controversy.
Yeah, which is just odd. Maybe we'll get back into that in a bit. But football-wise right now, LSU, if Alabama loses this football game, I think Bama's done because that's also 3 conference losses.
Yeah.
If LSU,
it has to be.
If LSU loses this game, it's only 2 conference losses. Now, they'll both still need help, even if whichever one wins in terms of a conference title game, you would think. But it would pretty much be the death knell for Bama. So this is bigger for them, in my opinion.
It would have to be. Yeah. I mean, well, here's the thing, too. I think Alabama maybe had more hope to make the playoff at the beginning of the year than LSU, even though, look, Brian Kelly in his 3rd year at LSU, you'd expect them to be a little more of a national title contender, but this is a pretty tough one for Kelly if he loses.
Yeah.
Just because, it happened quicker with other coaches at LSU, and you were successful quicker at other places. Why aren't you reaching the standard right now? But that's just a tough one for me to put my finger on, in all honesty, in terms of trying to project what happens in that. It's really hard, man. It's a hard one to put a finger on.
I mean, if you force me, I just feel like probably Alabama's just a little bit better than LSU, which is one of the reasons they're favored. Let me look at the latest FPI on this one.
I'd say the FPI probably has it 55% Alabama. I'll go 57 because I don't know if it's ever flat 55.
We'd have both been wrong because I was going to say about the same thing. 70%, 70%.
That's interesting.
For Alabama to win this game.
That's very interesting.
Again, take it as you will. But yeah, that whole Tiger thing, if y'all hadn't seen, the governor of Louisiana is renting a tiger
from Florida.
Yeah, to take to the game.
Because Mike the Tiger does not do well in front of crowds. They keep him smartly, wisely in his enclosure on campus.
Find me an animal that lives in the jungle that does well in front of 100,000 people.
Won't find many.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's the drive around the SEC. Hey, you want to go to Towson versus Carolina next week, men's basketball? Callers 4 and 5 will each hook you up with a pair of tickets. 803-404-6100. 803-404-6100. Good luck. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you on this Friday. Coming up, we'll have a lot of sound from Shane Beamer to get you ready for Saturday's ball game. And around 5:30, we'll invite two of you on board for this week's edition of the Wild Card Showdown. If you can beat us, we'll hook you up with one of our 107.5 The Game craft beer passports. I like craft beer.
Craft beer's the best.
I might have one after the show.
Ooh, jealous.
Yeah, I'll decide. You know what? Yeah. There. Decision.
Took a lot of thought. Yeah.
Decision made.
Really weighed that one out.
I'll do what I can. Speaking of those craft beer cards, they are now only $59, and you can get them at 1075thegame.com. You click on Sweet Deals.
Sweels.
And you'll save like around $300 on what it costs you. It's $59 to get one of these things. It's like $300 and something worth of beer. I don't do math, but it's a lot. It's a lot of good value.
It is.
So get one for you, then get a second one for you, then get one for a friend for the holidays, or just because you're a nice person. Or keep that one, too. Decide that, like I was going to give it to a friend, and then that friend hacked me off.
And now all this.
Now it's all mine.
These beer savings are mine.
Sure.
That's how it goes.
I mean, this is America, man. You do you.
It's in your possession.
Yeah.
It's your money. Use it when you need it. 877 cash now.
It's good.
You'll like that.
It's good. I wasn't ready for it. That's all. I wasn't ready for it.
Like a good trick play.
Sure.
Never saw it
Yeah, I
coming.
didn't see that one coming. So it's good.
Now that jingle's going to be stuck in your head all day. You're welcome.
Yep. 1075thegame.com. Sweet
Stuck
Deals.
in mine for years.
The brand new craft beer card. We were just doing the drive around the SEC, and we mentioned what's going on tomorrow afternoon in Oxford, Mississippi. And here's Lane Kiffin on basically, listen, if you want to do good things in the league, you probably got to have to do it against Georgia.
A great challenge this week, one we're excited about, playing at home. We screwed 2 games up earlier in the year, and when you do that, you put yourselves in situations. So I don't talk about playoffs normally and championships and all that because I think it really doesn't matter. It's about how you prepare and how you play. But I told our players, because they hear it all the time, you still have that stuff alive. And in my opinion, anybody that's going to win it, it's going to go through Georgia, going to have to go through Georgia at some point. They're the premier program in college football. Outside of Alabama, they won 51 straight games. And let me repeat that, 51 straight games, not non-conference, not, that's 51 including playoffs, straight games, which it's got to be some record in the history of football to win 51 straight against everybody but one program. So, and they're loaded as always and playing really well. Went into Texas, who was the #1 team, and beat them. So this is a big challenge for us, and we've kind of put ourselves in a playoff situation for 2 games in a row now. And so this would be the 3rd one in a row that we would need to win to keep on pace for that.
When you look at the season, I don't think it's any really hard question to answer. This game is bigger for Mississippi because, as Lane pointed out, they've already got 2 losses. We did the same thing with Alabama. They can't lose tomorrow night and really expect to have a viable shot at the playoff unless there's a lot of other things that fall in front of them that they can't help. Program-wise, is it probably still bigger for Mississippi than it? I mean, this game matters for Kirby and Georgia. But I feel like this matters a lot more for Mississippi.
Well, I think this officially legitimizes it. This would legitimize Ole Miss's program, especially considering that the college football playoff was the goal coming into this year.
Right.
And it would be considered a failure if they don't make it because they do have an amazing roster. I truly believe this is maybe the 2nd or 3rd best roster in the SEC. It's absolutely loaded. And if you can't cash in with a 10-win regular season and at least, a puncher's chance of getting into the college football playoff, then what are you as a program, right? That you're just a program that can accumulate talent with the new means in college football in which you can do it, but do nothing with it. You don't want that. That's a bad moniker to have. You got to be able to protect home field, too. I mean, if that place can't be a place where teams are afraid to go into, then what are you as a program? You got to be able to go in there and take care of business against a team like Georgia to really legitimize yourself as a big boy in college football. This is their chance to do it.
Is tomorrow a day, to your point? I agree with what you just said about the environment at Vaught Hemingway being something that people need to be scared of. Unfortunately, I believe for Mississippi tomorrow, Georgia will have no concerns about that whatsoever.
No, absolutely.
And I don't know what happens tomorrow for Ole Miss fans or players. I don't know that that's a switch that gets flipped. But you do if you win the football game, it plants those seeds for the future, I suppose, and that's probably the point you're making there.
Yes.
But Georgia going to Austin the way they did the other day, Georgia doesn't care.
No, Georgia program doesn't.
But that's going to be good. That's the 3:30 game tomorrow, so about a quarter into that one before Carolina and Vandy kick it off in Nashville. By the way, thanks to all of you from earlier. A lot of you haven't been listening, and so you won't know what this means, but thank you for letting us know. Art Bell was the overnight radio host that I was trying to think of in the last hour when we were talking about Elijah having to drive overnight and the kind of weird stuff that may be on the airwaves.
I've got his Wikipedia page pulled up, and, buddy, it's a doozy.
Oh, it's a scene, man. Hour 3 coming up. Homeowners, the holidays are coming up. You got friends and family coming into the house. Maybe you're having a big holiday gathering. Maybe the in-laws are coming in or, other family members from wherever. And you might say, gosh, before they get here, I need to do some sprucing, but I don't have a lot of cash laying around, because who does? Well, it might be time for you to take advantage of your home's equity by calling Palmetto Citizens and taking advantage of their home equity lines of credit. Unlock your home's equity and access the line of credit over a 10-year draw. Maybe this fall, you fix up like the guest bathroom. And then next year, you do the kitchen, or the kids are getting older. You get them a second bathroom or a playroom to kind of get out of your hair and let some of that energy out, whatever the needs are. Maybe you want to take the family on a big vacation. You can tap into your equity to do that, too. Apply online at palmettocitizens.org or any of their 14 convenient Midlands locations. And when you do this, you're going to save money, because it's not like it is with the big banks, right? Lower rates, fewer fees. Check them out online, palmettocitizens.org.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to, they're causing some issues on the roadways, starting with one on Columbiana Drive at Columbiana Circle, one on Fish Hatchery Road near Busby Road, Forest Drive near Highway 12 and Percival Road, Highway 1 at Augusta Road, two of them on Augusta Road and Highway 1, but one near Crepe Street, the other near North Grampian Hills Road. Got an accident on 26 eastbound at Augusta Road and exit 111, one on Polo Road near Alpine Road, and lastly, one on Schroeder Road at Garner's Ferry Road.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Friday. Welcome back in. Final hour of the post-game show coming at you from downtown Columbia's Herndon Chevy Studios alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We appreciate you being with us. We're going to start the headlines. We got a lot of Gamecock football to get into in the final hour of the program, I assure you. But there is a very serious story developing down in Gainesville when it comes to Florida men's basketball coach Todd Golden. Word has been kind of coming out in bits and pieces throughout the course of the afternoon. This came down, timeline on this one from the AP is 4:36. So this is the latest. And again, it's very serious. I'm going to be careful because, well, you'll see. But right now, according to the university's independent student newspaper, which, by the way, is called the Independent Florida Alligator. Again, student newspaper, and UF has one of the best journalism schools in the country. Todd Golden is the subject of a Title IX investigation following multiple allegations of sexual harassment and stalking. I'm going to read verbatim here a couple of paragraphs from the AP report. Florida received a formal Title IX complaint against Golden on September 27th that includes allegations of sexual exploitations, plural, sexual harassment, and stalking. Golden aimed these behaviors toward Florida students and former Florida students, the paper reported. Other local Gainesville outlets also said they were sent the Title IX report anonymously. University spokeswoman Cynthia Roldan Hernandez refused a request Friday to provide a copy of the complaint and declined to answer any questions about Golden. All right, so I'm going to stop reading verbatim here now, and I'm going to clean a little bit of this up because of what we do around here. If you are interested and want further detail, you can certainly find it wherever you get your news. But the complaint alleges that Coach Golden made unwanted sexual advances on Instagram and went even farther on Instagram in terms of what it was that he was asking for, and also, and I'm just going to say, sent pictures of himself.
Lewd photos.
To some of these targeted persons. And obviously you can pretty much figure that out. But again, if you want more specifics, you can get it. Florida hired Golden in 2022 to replace Mike White, who, of course, went on to Georgia. He initially had a 6-year, $18 million contract. Golden and Scott Strickland agreed last spring to a 2-year extension. So he is signed at UF through the spring of 2030. He's 39 years old. He is married, and we'll see where this goes next. But these are allegations. But it's something that Florida has been aware of for, let's call it, 6 weeks. He has coached a game already this season.
Two of them.
And they've got, I forget who they have this weekend. It's an easy game for them. There's a couple of good games in conference play, but Florida doesn't have one.
Yeah, they started out with South Florida. They played Jacksonville last night, and the schedule that I have in front of me has them playing Grambling State on Monday.
Okay. So, again, very serious. Very serious.
Yeah.
And these are multiple allegations. This is not one person that has said this of Coach Golden. And apparently, I'm not gonna go any. I don't know.
The allegations go further than just the pictures.
Yeah, I'm not trying to whitewash anything. It's just what we do here and how serious this is. Again, if you want further detail on just how serious this is, it will not be difficult for you to find it. A lot of serious things about what he allegedly had done in town, on social media. And we'll just have to see where this goes next. But I can't. I'm a little surprised, Elijah, editorializing here. I'm a little surprised that UF declined anything in terms of any kind of statement. I mean, do you at least have a responsibility as a public university to, or really any university where, I mean, look, the adults are supposed to look after the students, to at least say we're aware? Yeah, it just any acknowledgement that we are looking into this, that Scott Strickland or that President Fuchs has spoken with Coach Golden, or that Coach Golden has an attorney. I don't know. Maybe you don't need to. And clearly they think they don't as of today. Now, this could be the typical, Friday afternoon news dump, if you will, where in about a half hour's time, and I don't know that this is going to happen, that UF releases a quick statement.
They probably should. You should probably acknowledge that.
I would at least acknowledge it. And if I'm Todd Golden, I probably don't. But if I'm UF, I probably got to say we are aware that one of our employees at one of the more prestigious public universities in America is accused of this, and here's what we're going to attempt to do about it.
Well, especially considering yesterday they had no problem releasing the news that Billy Napier is going to get another year there at the job.
Right.
So we know you can talk.
Right.
We know that we know that PR department's working.
Well, and you also know again now, and I'm going to trust that these multiple media outlets in Gainesville are on the up and up, and they are. That Florida has known about this again since September the 27th. It's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time to know about something and
not even acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it, let alone issue a suspension to find out, how much of this is accurate. But there is one thing about this, though. A lot of the stuff that is being alleged of him is very provable.
Sure.
So we should know this should not be a long investigation.
I would agree. I would agree. And again, I'm not hiding the details from you. I assure you, this is really just not the outlet for me to go into any further detail. But the details in other pieces, I would urge you, honestly, if you want the most full accounting of this, go to the Independent Alligator website, which is alligator.org. I know that sounds like it could be some kind of, fun tourist place down in Florida. It's not. Alligator.org is the website for UF's student newspaper. And there is a very full accounting of what is being looked at right now.
Yeah, and what is in the official Title IX complaint, which is probably, if you're looking for details anywhere, that would be what we call in journalism school a primary source.
Yeah. And UF is at Texas in football tomorrow, and I believe that game is early. I wonder if we hear from Florida before noon Eastern.
Yeah, you'd think.
And I realize that this is a basketball story, if you will, but it's a university story.
And it's a university that has been entrenched with enough in the last several years.
Yeah. So anything that pops, obviously, in the final 51 minutes that we're on the air, we'll bring it to you. But we'll see where that goes. There's no easy way for me after a story like that to simply segue into the news of the day around South Carolina football. So I'm going to let us all just take a deep breath, and I'll get into what's going on now for what we cover on a regular basis. Shane Beamer speaking last night as part of Carolina Calls. Gamecocks now 6-point favorites in this game, opened as 3-point favorites.
That line is moving.
The money is moving towards South Carolina. Gamecocks have about let's see what I write down, 58.8% chance to win the ball game. Look, it's a heavier expectation, if you will, against a team that you were already expected to beat. And as we've talked about a lot this week, Elijah, Gamecock fans, Bama fans, Auburn fans, Kentucky fans of the SEC and the other schools expect to beat Vanderbilt. And that doesn't change tomorrow. But what needs to change tomorrow is the evidence in front of you in terms of Vanderbilt's results and what South Carolina can do. And I thought that when we spoke earlier to Andrew Allegretta, the voice of the Commodores, I asked him what should concern Carolina considering what they do so well. And he said there's enough out there maybe on both sides, for Vandy to show you something that you think you need to defend, but have a way to counter. What did he say? Counter your counter.
The counter.
Yeah. And I thought that was a really interesting way to put it.
Counterception.
And he's probably right. But Tim Beck is creative. Diego Pavia is confident. Again, there are results that show you what Vanderbilt has been able to do to certain opponents. But again, if Bama had adjusted, as Andrew pointed out, Bama's going to win that game. And Vandy got a defensive score that day too. But they were 12 of 18, and he said of late they haven't been as good on third down. To me, that's the difference for South Carolina. Get them off the field and make them punt because they like to hang around.
Yeah, that's get them off the field, give them a punt, do a lot of the things that they like to do. Don't let them do the things they like to do, which is kind of smother the game out, right? I think if Alabama proved anything, you can score on them, and you can score quickly on them. But you're not you can't be the team that's turning the ball over more often. I mean, this is another big turnover battle that you're going to have to win. I do feel just really confidently though, if South Carolina avoids the turnovers that Lenore Sellers has, the game that he's had the last 2 weeks, or at least 2 games, not 2 weeks, but the last 2 games, you're putting yourself up in a pretty good position to win the game. And
right.
If you dominate first and second down, like we talk about third down efficiency all the time, right? Well, Vanderbilt's third down efficiency is pretty directly correlated to how they do on first and second down because they are playing for the sticks, right? Like they are trying to methodically move the ball up and down the field, get them in third and longs. I like your chances.
Give me cut 7 on our list, please, sir. Shane Beamer last night on Carolina Calls with Todd Ellis. This is Coach on making sure that his team stays focused after what they've done the last couple of weeks.
It's knowing that we've got to go right back to work. For Texas A&M, that was a really big win. There's no question about it. But the way that it becomes bigger is by going and continuing to win. And what we told our players is we talk about, they remember November, and it's not just what you do the first game of November. It's the whole month as well. So we have a lot of expectations and goals for the next month, and Vanderbilt's the next team on the schedule, but all you have to do is turn on the tape and start watching them, and you see what this isn't, Vanderbilt teams are some of the teams we played in the past. This is a really good and capable team, and we're going to have to go play well. And certainly you worry about it, human nature. I mean, there's such a high from last week. It was an emotional game. It was a physical game. It was a weight game. Being able to get back mentally, physically, emotionally, and all that as well in order to get ready for the next week. But, feel like we have, and this is a hungry group, and they enjoy being on the field together and working.
Hungry group. And again, is there that playing of the disrespect card just a little bit from Shane and his staff to their players? Hey, people, not us, but people think the team we're playing is better than y'all. So
Kirby would be drooling at the opportunity to get to say that.
Well, I think, what did you say a couple of days ago when we heard Shane say that? You were like, Kirby's jealous.
He's so jealous. I mean, he is so jealous. Like, Kirby's probably never been more jealous of anything else in his life.
Right.
He wants to be an underdog so bad.
Yeah, well, because it helps. I mean, I got to give. Look, I'm with you, and then like Kirby sometimes, like again, the one after the second title, it's like nobody believed it. It's like, dude, stop it.
Is nobody in the room with us now, buddy?
Yeah. What was the old family circus? The ghost, not me, that ran around the house? Like, it wasn't me. Like that thing. That's what Kirby has there. And that's an old reference for those of you who remember that one. We'll come back on the other side with more from Coach Beamer, getting you ready for Carolina Vandy. It's the postgame show. This time of year, especially when we get that nice little warm, spot again, weather-wise, a great chance for you to call AAA Heating and Air and make sure that your heating system is good to go for the coming months when it does, believe it or not, get a little chilly around the Midlands of South Carolina. Listen, if you're a resident, you already know that. If you're new to the area, yes, eventually it does get to a spot where you might need to, wear a coat or a scarf or some such. Yeah, it's like a week, but still, hey, it matters. No, in all seriousness, beat the seasons with AAA Heating and Air. If you need a system upgrade, you can get a free replacement estimate today. Log on to their website. Call AAAtoday.com. That's call AAAtoday.com. And at that point, you can take advantage of 12 months, no payments or interest. If you buy in 2024, a 15-year parts and labor warranty, $1,500 system buyback rebate. That's a great time to get it done. Call AAAtoday.com, 803-677-1500. Tell them we sent you to AAA Heating and Air. Welcome back into the postgame show on this Friday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Remind you that tomorrow we've got, pretty much all-day coverage. It starts a little bit later because the game's a little bit later. 11 o'clock in the morning, Gamecocks game day from O'Hara's in Lexington. Tyler will be out there, and Elijah will be co-hosting with him, and Elijah will be on scene in Music City, USA. And then making his way over to the ballpark, 4:15 kickoff, and, of course, the watch party at O'Hara's. Again, earlier when I looked down at this, and I'm kidding, but it was like, hey, you can see the Commodores at O'Hara's. And I was like, cool.
I love Lionel Richie.
Commodores, man. But then it's just the Vanderbilt Commodores. But it's still fun to go to O'Hara's. And, again, remind me.
O'Hara's is kind of like a brick house.
Yeah, there you go. Mighty, mighty.
Let them all hang out. Ow!
What's the sandwich that I got to get?
The Steelworker.
Okay. I really need to get out there. Plus tomorrow,
So good.
If you go to
Corned beef
O'Hara's
specifically.
and watch with the crew, you could win tickets to future Carolina football games. I don't know which ones.
Future ones. There's only 2 left.
I mean, it
2
could
home
be
games left.
Yeah, maybe it's for next season. Maybe it's for like 2046. I don't know. It just says future. So I mean, that's like there's the fun. I'm going to guess that it's either Missouri or Wofford. I mean, I'll go on that limb, but you never know. So go find out and have a pint and enjoy the ball game. O'Hara's. But we'll start things off for you tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. But again, before we do any of that, following Carolina men's basketball tonight, I guess an abbreviated edition of the high school scoreboard show?
Yeah, we'll get in as much as we can. Which, of course, once the basketball game ends, we'll have to roll through some scores, and hopefully maybe we might be able to get some coaches on afterwards. But a pretty big night in the high school football scene here in this great state.
Elijah, Justin, and the great Ed Bird coming at you once Carolina is done with SC State. Again, that'll air at 6:30.
It's Ed Bird show.
7 o'clock tip at CLA. Let's get back into some sound from Coach Shane Beamer. Cut number 16, please. This is the basics here from Shane. What does he see as South Carolina's key to victory?
And will throughout the week that, for us to have success on Saturday, we've got to affect their quarterback. They go as he goes, offensively, defensively, special teams. He's the voice of that team in so many ways, and they feed off his energy. So we've got to affect him in the run game and the pass game, without a doubt. And then one thing you and I haven't talked about, but special teams will be big in this game. They've got a punter that's a heck of a punter, but and a punt returner that's one of the better punt returners in this league. He had a long return against Auburn that was a big play in that game. So we've got to do a great job on special teams, and a close game, two really good teams going at it, just like last week. Special teams are going to be impactful. Field position is going to be very impactful. So we've got to make sure that we come out on the right side of the special teams battle for sure.
And again, their coach mentioned, and look, it was funny for those of you that got to hear it. If you didn't, it'll be on the podcast page. But Andrew Allegretta joined us early, the voice of Vanderbilt football. And I said, hey, listen, Andrew, I could ask you how fun is it to watch this team? But instead I asked, what's different? And he goes, Diego Pavia, we done? And I kind of figured he might go there, as I told him. He might go there anyway, but then he got into it. But
the free space in the bingo card.
Yeah, I know, right? Maybe a couple of them. But Shane just made mention, as Diego goes, so goes the Vanderbilt football team, it seems. And here's Coach Beamer with a larger look at Diego Pavia from his perspective.
He's got my respect. Just he's an elite competitor. That shows up on tape. Just the energy and the competitive spirit that he plays with, the effort that he plays with. Without a doubt, it shows up on tape. And he's just a guy he's just a playmaker. He can make throws. He's a weapon with his feet. When you think he's running, he's keeping his eyes downfield, and he can he can stop running and take a hit and throw the ball 50 yards downfield. Or when he runs the ball, he's just got an ability to make plays. You pause a tape and you're like, okay, these guys have angles on him and they're going to make a tackle. There's a play in the Missouri game, and there's like 4 guys that are converging on him at one time, and he comes out of all 4 of them for a 20-yard run. He's just He's just got a knack for making plays, and it goes back to his competitive spirit, and he's an experienced guy. You look at the games he's won, beating Auburn last year at his previous school, and then beating Alabama and Auburn both this year. He's a winner, and it shows on film when you watch him.
How he describes in there, and I mentioned this to you a couple of days ago, Elijah, it's not a direct apples-to-apples comparison, but again, it might be red apples to green apples comparison here, but I see a lot from a competitive standpoint and ability standpoint in what I saw in Connor Shaw when he was in Columbia, a guy who was fearless. Again, I think Diego, while not brash, right, not just cocky and arrogant, is certainly more outward in his ways than Connor ever was. Like I said, for Connor, Connor could have just thrown a 50-yard touchdown pass, or he could have just thrown a horrible interception, and the look on his face wasn't going to change during the course of the game. But to come back around to the running aspect especially, and again, Diego Pavia is Vanderbilt's leading rusher as well this season. But I mentioned to you that I can recall so many times that opposing players in postgame would say of Connor Shaw, we didn't know he was that fast or that good until he was on the field. The film just didn't allow us to really understand that he was that good at getting away from you or that he wanted to take that hit, and Connor rarely shied. Now, Steve would tell him, son, sometimes you got to slide. GA would say, son, sometimes you got to slide. You got to get out of bounds, and Connor, fine.
It's like slide, like the thing on the playground.
I don't think I really can't recall Connor sliding, to be honest with you. He might have just gone down a little bit. I can't really recall him doing the baseball feet first. He probably did somewhere along the way, but Connor would find ways to get out of bounds sometimes. But I think Diego Pavia has a lot of that same characteristic in him, man. He's just the first thing he wants to go be is a football player and beat you.
Yeah. That's a football guy, in the truest extent. I mean, he's got a lot of outward swagger to him, but also that's just a guy that refuses to lose football games. He's almost, I'm saying this in the most endearing way possible. He's crazy about it.
Right.
This guy, this guy's a little nuts, and because he doesn't believe he should ever lose. That's a guy that his entire football career has been told you should be losing football games. You're not better than the people that you're playing against. And what does he do instead? He is determined to show you that not only will he lose, he will go out and not lose. He'll go out there and beat the hell out of somebody like that. He's just one of those guys too. He is he's just, I don't know. He's got the intangibles, right? That you just can't necessarily point out by looking at a stat sheet. He's one of those guys, and it's helped change the culture of what Vanderbilt does in terms of belief in themselves to win football games.
And that's why I compare him to Connor, because it's nothing against guys that have played, and Carolina's football history is very different than Vanderbilt's, but Connor Shaw never lost a game at Williams-Brice, and Connor Shaw did elevate this team. He did put them on his proverbial back. Hell, one night when he had a really awful back, he put him on it and won that game up at Missouri. I mean, just things like that. That team just believed in Connor Shaw, and they weren't going to lose, and rarely did they. And that's why I see so many similarities. Carolina, of course, now is riding the wave that is Lenoris Sellers. Cut number 12, please, sir. Just a real quick cut from Shane on, especially in this last month, what he's seeing from Lenoris.
Just that he continues to get better. What a performance the other night, protecting the football, some of his runs, some of the sacks he got out.
Superman.
I mean, it was unbelievable. But he really proud of him and his development. Mike Shula and Dow Loggins have done a really good job of working with him. Lenoris is a great young man, football junkie, works really, really hard, and really pleased to see the way he's developing and will continue to as well.
So, listen, as Diego goes, so goes Vanderbilt. For the Gamecocks, it might be as the defense goes, so go the Gamecocks. But Lenoris had a really nice game last week, and that trend needs to continue as well. We'll have some final thoughts on the Carolina-Vandy game coming up for you in just a bit. But right now, it's time to invite two of you on board. It's the Wild Card Showdown this Friday, a chance for you to win one of our craft beer passports if you can beat Elijah and me. So two of you, 803-404-6100. We'll make some picks against the spread when the postgame show returns.
We're steamrolling into the weekend, and there's so many sports going on. Of course, we got a football Friday. There's some college football going on tonight. There's, of course, professional basketball and hockey. And then we have professional football on Sunday, college football tomorrow. You can cash in on your knowledge of all these things with my friends over at Prize Picks. It's my favorite daily fantasy sports app, and I have been working it this fall, mainly with goalie saves by picking more or less on goalie saves. Look, my rule of thumb, it's early in the hockey season. Goalies aren't necessarily in full form, so if there's ever, a goalie projection of 30 saves or more, I'm hitting less. If it's 23 or below, I'm hitting more. It's that simple. You can do the same thing. Just pick more or less on two players from different teams to win a shot to win up to 100 times your cash with easy payouts, injury insurance, flex play. Prize Picks is numero uno in my book. Just download the app today. Use promo code 1075game and get $50 off $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you that might be causing some issues on the roadways. All of these here are going to be in Richland County, starting with one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at North Grampian Hills Road, I-20 westbound at Monticello Road near exit 68, Leesburg Road near Fairmont Drive, Polo Road near Alpine Road, and Trotter Road at Garner's Ferry Road.
"26 minutes in front of 6 o'clock here on this Friday afternoon, nearly Friday evening. Some of you may be making your way shortly, if not already, over to CLA. Gamecocks and the SC State Bulldogs tonight at 7. Men's basketball. Dawn Staley's team has NC State coming up on Sunday in Charlotte. Let's see. Women's soccer playing for the SEC title Sunday afternoon, and also Sunday afternoon, Tony Annan's men's team will get their conference tournament underway against Kentucky, that tournament being held in Morgantown. So a busy weekend. And yes, there's that football game. But we talked about that.
There's a football game?
Tomorrow.
Really?
Yep.
Unaware.
Well, I don't know where you're going tomorrow, but when you get to Nashville, say hey to somebody.
I'll say hey to somebody, wherever it is.
Let's cue the band and play this week's edition of the Wild Card Showdown. We've got Travis. We've got Keaton ready to play. Keaton, happy Friday. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Just ready for some football and ready to see Lenore Sellers put it on this weekend. Man.
There you go. That's the attitude. Travis, how are you, sir?
I think Travis got zapped, but I have his...
Oh, let's get Travis.
Tell him to call back. There he is. Okay.
There's Travis.
Let me put
All
it
right,
back
hang on, Travis. Hang on. And hang on. Yeah, Keaton, I hear you. This could be a battle of quarterbacks tomorrow that like to run with the football. You know, will both quarterbacks be their team's leading rusher, Keaton? That's not a part of the contest, but, you know, that's one of the things to look at. Again, Diego Pavia is his team's leading rusher. Lenoris is close. All right, Travis is good.
Well, the phones aren't locking, unfortunately, so don't know what's wrong with the board. So
okay.
we're gonna have to get creative.
I'm still here, though.
That's okay. All right, Keaton, we got you. Travis, I need you to sit tight, and we'll do this what we did a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
We're going to make picks with Keaton, and then we'll yuck it up with Travis and make him feel good too. And then we'll all get this done. And if you guys can beat us, then we'll hook you up with a 107.5 The Game Crap Beer Passport. Hang on. I'm going to prove it. See, if you're looking on YouTube, there it is. You see the beer, and right there it is. So there you go. This one will be for one of you guys. All right, Keaton, here we go, man. Georgia at Mississippi. Bulldogs favored by 2.5. What do you think?
I don't trust Lane Kiffin, man. I'm going to have to go Bulldogs.
Georgia on the road minus the points. Elijah Campbell.
See, at the beginning of the year, I liked this Ole Miss team to be in Atlanta. I think they finally hit their stride on offense a little bit. It's now or never. If you can't do it now, you never will. So I want to roll with Ole Miss here.
Look at you.
I'm feeling spicy today.
You don't really like this pick, though, do you?
I don't love it. I feel 60% confident in it, which is greater than 50.
I love it. I feel 100%.
A 60% chance that you feel 40% good about it.
Something like that.
Okay.
But hey, I mean, I got points here. So if it's a 1-point loss, then, you know, I'm still riding the win.
What does Ted Lasso say? I'm looking for 70% effort 4,000% of the time. So there you go.
That works.
I've got Georgia to cover the 2.5 tomorrow at Vaught Hemingway Stadium. To LSU, Bama, we go next. Elijah, I'll start with you. Bama, like Georgia, a 2.5-point road favorite.
Man, I am all on the home underdogs. I guess the home dogs bark loudest. Give me LSU.
LSU. Keaton, what do you think?
LSU is hard to play in Baton Rouge. Hard.
I agree, and that's And yet, again, this game means so much for Alabama. So I'm pulling the Tony Barnhart card here. Alabama will win because they have to, but I'll let them. They'll cover the 3. They probably win by, or the 2.5. They'll win by 3. Alabama to cover. All right, to the NFL we go next. I'll start this one off. Washington, one of the surprise teams in the league, is hosting the Steelers. Not really a surprise, but maybe they're playing better than we thought. Washington hit 3 games in a row, minus 2.5. This time I'm going to take the home team. I will take Washington to cover against the Steelers. Elijah Campbell.
This is the Mike Tomlin special. You're playing a team that has not been historically successful over the last few years. They're really good right now. Logic says the Manders win, but Mike Tomlin does not follow your logic. Give me the Steelers.
Pittsburgh. All right. This is good. You and I, this is something's going to happen here.
Something's happening here.
Yeah, so there you go. Keaton, same game?
I'm going to roll with Jaden Daniels. He's really good, man. I mean, he is doing unbelievable things in his rookie year. I'm gonna go with Washington.
He is having a fine
awesome.
season. Yeah, he is having a very fine season, no doubt. I told Elijah earlier today that if, like 5 years ago, you had said to somebody, you know what's going to be one of the great games of the NFL season is the Lions and the Texans. You'd have gotten beat up on the playground, and yet it's one of the best games of the NFL season, we think. Detroit is giving Houston 3.5 points down in Texas. I'll start with this one. Listen, I like what Houston's doing, but, man, Detroit might be the best team in football. I'll take Detroit minus the points on the road. Keaton, what do you think?
I got C.J. Stroud in my fantasy, but I don't know if I'm going to play him this week. He's been struggling a little bit. I'm going to have to go with the Lions this week.
Detroit Lions, Elijah Campbell.
Wow, I guess this is where we finally agree on something. Give me the Lions.
Lions. All right. Well, it could be a clean sweep once we talk to Travis. All right, wild card game. Keaton, you get Colorado, a 4-point favorite at Texas Tech. Texas Tech ending Iowa State's run last week. But the Buffaloes on the road are favored. What do you think, Keaton?
This might be the first time, but I'm going to go with Colorado this week.
Colorado on the road. Elijah Campbell, you get Indiana, 14.5-point favorites at home over Michigan.
Ooh, give me Michigan to cover the 14.5. Indiana still wins, but I think this is the first time they get really tested.
I agree with you, actually. If I had that game, or we all played it, I would have picked Michigan plus those points as well. I'll hold mine until we talk to Travis. And then let's see, Keaton, our tiebreaker statistic is total offense for Ole Miss, not for any player, the team. Total offense for Ole Miss against Georgia's D tomorrow. What do you think, Keaton?
Man, against Georgia's defense, they're airmailing, man. I'm probably going to have to go 380. No. We're going to go 495 total offense. Ole Miss.
Oh, that might mean an Ole Miss win. Wow.
I hope you're right.
Either that or it's going to be like 63-56 or something like that. We'll see.
Also, that'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Carson Beck's ready. Carson Beck's ready to have a blowout game.
I hear you.
He's been struggling a little bit, but he's ready.
All right. Well, Keaton, you're all locked in, buddy. Appreciate you listening, and have a great weekend. We'll let you know, all right?
Appreciate it, man. Good
all right,
talk.
good stuff. Thank you, sir. All right, let's bring Travis on now. We got a little phone issue there, so we got Travis. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, man.
All right, well, here we go. All right, you got all these games. We'll run them down real fast here for you. Georgia and Mississippi. Georgia is giving Ole Miss 2.5 in Oxford.
Georgia.
Georgia. All right, so that means Elijah's on an island.
I'm on Ole Miss Island.
That's right.
Me and Lane.
Bama, same thing, giving LSU 2.5 in Baton Rouge.
LSU hadn't stopped the running quarterback yet, right?
Not really.
Yeah, let's go Bama.
Alabama. All right. NFL game, Washington and Pittsburgh in D.C. Well, right outside it.
Landover.
Washington is a 2.5-point favorite.
Washington.
Washington. All right. That's another island for Elijah.
Lion Island. I get to be, not Lion, Steelers Island.
Hope you have a lot of suntan oil. And Detroit giving Houston 3.5 points down in Texas.
Detroit.
Detroit. That's a clean sweep across
Lions
the board.
sweep.
All right. And Travis, your game is Ooh, BYU, 3-point favorites at Utah. Huge game.
The
in the
Holy
Big 12.
War.
Yeah, and the Holy War. 3-point favorites are the Cougars.
I'm going to go Utah.
Utah to pull the big upset, which would be gigantic out that way.
Or at least to cover the 3.
Yeah, well, that's fair. That's fair. And my game is Oklahoma, 2-point favorites at Missouri. That was as of this morning. It's now up to 3, but I guess we should keep the 2. You want to make it a 3?
Let's make it. No, wherever the hook is. I hate a tie, so whatever has the hook.
Well, I had 2 points when I made this about 10 o'clock this morning.
It's at 3 now, so 2.5 is fine.
Okay, 2.5. All right, I'm going to put 2.5, and I'm still going to take Oklahoma either way. So there you go. All right. And Travis, tiebreaker stat: total offense for the Ole Miss Rebels against Georgia tomorrow.
Let's go 388.
388. Elijah Campbell.
417.
417. Man, Travis, I was thinking 385, but I'm going to give you a little bit more cushion than that, but I don't know how much I can really give you. You know what? I'll go 375. 375. Ole Miss against Georgia. All right, Travis, you are all locked in as well, so we thank you. Again, thanks to Keaton. You guys beat the other guy. You beat us. We hook you up with this very card right here, this 107.5 The Game Craft Beer Passport. Thank you for playing, buddy. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend, okay?
Appreciate y'all.
All right, that's good stuff. That's Travis. That's Keaton. Elijah has a 1-game lead on me, 28-21-1 against the spread, 27-22-1 for me against the spread.
This is a moving weekend.
So there you go. Yeah,
We're fading each other on almost every game.
We should have ESPN. What do they always have those nickname weekends for basketball season?
Feast week.
We should have something like that. All right.
Blood week.
Final thoughts on Carolina Vandy when the postgame show returns.
Blood.
Welcome back in. Final few minutes of the postgame show here on this Friday afternoon/evening. Again, coming up at 6:30, Derek Scott, Judge Casey Manning, Gamecock men's basketball against SC State. Sunday afternoon, Brad Muller on the call, Carolina and NC State in women's basketball. That's up in Charlotte. And again, on Sunday as well, both soccer teams in action. Shelley Smith team playing for yet another SEC championship. It'll be their 5th appearance in the SEC title game under Shelley's leadership. That's at 2:30 against Texas. That tournament being held down in Pensacola. And Tony Annan's men's soccer team getting their 10th win of the regular season the other day. They start Sun Belt Conference play. Again, no SEC men's soccer. But they'll take on Kentucky, so it'll feel like an SEC game.
That's right. I mean, it is. I'm trying to think of a really clever name to combine SEC and Sun Belt, and I'm drawing blank. The SEC belt.
The Sun Eastern Belt Conference? I don't know. Sorry, that was
that one takes some workshopping. Something is there.
It is.
There's something there, and I just can't put my finger on it. And usually this is my specialty.
Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't want to click the way we want it to. I'm looking forward to this game tomorrow. I know there are still going to be some, and I'm not taking anybody to task, I assure you, because I've wrestled with myself here in terms of how I feel about this game. On our Gamecock Central picks, what did I picked 31-20, right, Elijah? You don't remember.
Oh, is that what you picked?
Hang on. I think
I have
so.
it written. No!
Yes. 30. Oh, what'd you write? Oh, yeah. You wrote down what you thought I was going to pick.
24-14. That's what I thought you were going to have. For some reason, I thought I might have written down 31-20.
Yeah.
Yours is kind of close to mine. Not quite plagiarism.
You know what? Here's what I wrote, y'all. What the heck? I said, we're starting to see this Gamecocks team play at a consistently higher level as the stretch run begins. The last 2 wins by a combined 50 points have shown just how dominant this defense is, while also giving the offense a chance to grow under Dowell Loggins and Lenore Sellers. Now it's back on the road to one of the biggest surprises in all of college football this season, the Vanderbilt Commodores. Diego Pavia has become the heart and soul of the team, and head coach Clark Lee has instilled the discipline and belief that has gotten them bowl eligible with 3 games to play. Follow the path of the last 2 games, and this one is Carolina's, but allowing Vandy to hang around because of errors and penalties could spell disaster. But I do pick an 11-point Gamecock win, which would be a cover. Again, that spread now up to 6 as the money flows to Carolina. I expect South Carolina to win this game. I expect South Carolina's defense to once again do what it has been doing, Elijah. But I just know this isn't the same old Vanderbilt. And again, I do think Diego Pavia is a special player who will make some things happen tomorrow. Carolina has to limit that.
Yeah, I think they do. I just think they get them on 1st and 2nd down. I think Auburn did a really good job of showing what you can do to slow down their offense and just get them in uncomfortable 3rd down situations. If there's a defense, man, in the SEC that I trust to be able to make life difficult for an opposing quarterback, I think there's no reason to look any further than the South Carolina defense. That's why I think Vanderbilt only scores about 17 points. I think they get some opportunistic breaks here and there. I got South Carolina winning 31-17. I think they will do a very good job of make Diego Pavia have to beat them over the top. And that's the one thing that might be a little different with this South Carolina team than maybe other teams that have struggled against Vanderbilt, like Kentucky, like Auburn necessarily struggled defensively, but Missouri doesn't have a secondary I would trust against Vanderbilt in terms of opening up the top of the defense. You load up the box on them; they're easy to take the top off of. Right? Kentucky doesn't have a great overall secondary. They can pack the box in. You can open the top up off of them. I don't think you can really do that with this South Carolina team right here. I think secondary is good enough. South Carolina is good enough at forcing turnovers to at least get the crucial ones to create some separation. And might regret saying
again.
It, but
I agree with you. I agree. Just to from what people
it almost
did,
feels too good.
Yeah, and again, what Vandy did last week to further your point, and again, we talked to the voice of the Commodores, Andrew Allegretta, earlier, and he said, Vandy was just living on 3rd and 9s. Auburn was doing their job last week. Vandy only got 12 first downs. They were 4 of 16 on 3rd down. Remember, the reason they beat Alabama more than any other, perhaps, they were 12 of 18 on third downs. Vandy only amassed a total of 227 yards last week, 143 through the air and just 84 on the ground. They didn't turn the ball over. Auburn only had one turnover last week, but Auburn doubled them up on penalties, and Vanderbilt did have a better time of possession last week. So there's not a lot there for you. Auburn's just not very good, and Vandy is opportunistic enough to have taken advantage of it. So, again, last week, you look at what Vandy did or did not do, depending on your point of view offensively, and you should feel really good about Carolina. But that was at Jordan-Hare. This one's going to be at home. Nate Bargatze's going to be there. It should be a lively crowd, but I know plenty of Gamecock. I would expect Gamecock fans to be at least half of the audience tomorrow. So,
at least.
And it typically is that way. I get it, and so many fans like this opportunity to take this road trip. But go do what you've been doing, Gamecocks. Even against Alabama to some degree, minus the turnovers. And you'll win this football game tomorrow. So,
I feel like they've just turned the corner, man. They're playing their best football right now. I don't think Vanderbilt's playing their best right now.
I would agree with you on both fronts. Thanks to Andrew for joining us, our good friend Langston Moore as well, and to all of you, have a very safe weekend. Enjoy all the football you're going to be watching, and the hoops, and the soccer, and we'll do it all again on Monday. See ya. One final word from our good friends at Cato's Power Equipment. My buddy Ben Cato wants to remind you that throughout the winter months, Cato's will be operating on a different schedule. They close at 1:30 on Wednesdays, closed on Saturdays. But especially for those of you in the professional realm, they can make an appointment if you really need to get in there and see them. But he really wants you to know that they've got some amazing Black Friday sale opportunities that he says are bigger and more popular than they've ever done at Cato's. A 2-week sale starts on the 18th, runs through the 29th. Steel units priced 15 to 20% off, and that's valid on any steel product in stock at Cato's. Fleet, government, 501c3 folks, you could save 25% off steel, plus 10% off all Toro push mowers. You've got savings on Gravely's and so much more. You just need to get in there and see them. Take my word for it here. They're awesome at what they do. 4012 West Beltline Boulevard, and always online, CatosPowerEquipment.com.